What's up, guys? Welcome back to another HERR Lounge podcast. I am super excited about this episode. But before we get started, shout out to all our entrepreneur box vendors, Twin Candle, BCN Supplements, Cactus Kush, and who else was in this month? That's it. So shout out to you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of our subscription box. We really appreciate it. And before we get started, you guys know I like to start with a positive quote. And today's quote is perfect for our guest that we have on. And it says, "A child can teach you three things: to be happy for no reason, to always be curious, and to fight tirelessly for something."
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic.
Because I think that is exactly what Jackie is doing, is fighting tirelessly for our children. So Jackie, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for really being on. Actually, it was one of my patrons who got me onto your page. I didn't know about it. And sadly, I don't know her real name. I just know her Instagram name. It's like KB.
Oh yeah, I know her.
You
Kathleen.
know her?
Oh, how funny. We all know of people by their handles.
No, exactly. So she's the one who told me about you. She's like, you really got to follow this page because I know she listens to the podcast, and she's like, I know you're big on that. So for sure.
And what's the page? What's the page, by the way?
HTX.
Kids First.
Great content all day long. I don't know who takes care of that, but you find
It's me.
Oh my God. Because you search and find the most crazy things. Anyway, welcome. Jackie, what is your last name? I'm sorry.
Abreu Hill.
Abreu Hill.
Okay.
Abreu Hill.
Wow.
Hill. Okay.
Where is that from?
Dominican Republic. That's my husband.
Oh,
He's half Dominican, half black.
very cool.
So how does it, Abreu?
Abreu is the Dominican side. Hill is his black side. They just...
Oh, so you use both of
Hyphenated,
them?
yes.
What? He uses both?
Oh, yes, girl.
What? So you had to come on and oh my God. When I had to, you know what I mean? Dang, I'm so glad Pete didn't do that. I can't imagine having two. As it is, my name's already long. Can you imagine if I had two different long last names? Oh my God.
That'd be hilarious.
That'd be crazy. Anyway, what do you actually do for a living? What is your full-time job?
So I'm a safety engineer for an oil company.
Got it. Okay.
Yes.
This is
So
totally
I do have a job.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in the meantime, I'm, digging up the world's...
This is a second job for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hell on earth that's happening right before our eyes,
Hell on earth. So tell us how you got started. Like, what made you triggered? Or, I mean, really, there's no trigger. It's just kind of happening everywhere you look right now.
It's horrible. Yeah, so a bunch of us parents got together last May when COVID was kind of dying down, what we thought was.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so we were like, okay, enough is enough with the masks. We don't want our kids in masks anymore. Like, cut it out. And so we formed protests and all this stuff. Well, my friend runs a Facebook page, Unmask HISD. And so I said, well, we need to be on Instagram because Instagram is, I hate Facebook.
We just had this
had a
conversation.
I was like, I don't want anything to do with it. I know it's the same metaverse, but I don't want anything to do with it anymore. So I canceled Facebook. But Instagram is like my jam. And so I said, look, I'm going to create a page. I'll manage it. Y'all just do Facebook, whatever. And so we were originally Unmask HISD. That's where it all stemmed from. And the following was starting to grow. And then we were like, so then they took, or I think it was summertime, masks went away because it was summer. And we're like, cool. So maybe they won't come back. So we're like, let's change the name, HTX Kids First, because we just believe in kids. And we want to just rally for the kids. And so it just started to blow up because people were like, okay, we have people actually fighting in Houston. We didn't realize that there was. I'm going to be honest, this has not been an easy fight. The mask thing was one. It was like COVID versus, non-COVID stuff, which, whatever. But then we started to unravel the snowball of disasters in this district. I mean, if you know anything about Houston ISD, it's the 7th largest in the nation, the largest in Texas, and it has been corrupt for, I don't know, forever. I mean, I don't know if you guys just saw, there was something maybe about a couple months ago, the FBI raided HISD. There was some issues back with some previous administration. Yeah, it's just not good. that's just my take. I have plenty of friends who have kids thriving in the district. Don't get me wrong. It's not all bad. But anyway, we started the account. I started the account, and then it just snowballed into this. Let's expose as much as we can find. And so I've been really on a kick with finding the books. And the books is such a controversial topic in this state right now because so many people are finding books. And
You mean the curriculum books?
so yes and no.
No library books.
Library
Oh,
books. Oh yeah. Yeah.
you can move that towards you if you want to swing it towards you so you're not having to lean forward. Yeah.
Library books?
Oh yeah. I can read some to you. They're horrible.
Did you bring any?
I mean, I have them on my
Oh,
phone.
okay.
Oh, my.
Who uses books
Oh
anymore
yeah, no,
as an adult?
I posted them. They're terrible. They're terrible. I mean, they say things that are just they
You're gonna
just
have to fix it. 'cause
You
you
go,
have
yeah,
hair
yeah,
sticking them out.
no, go
So
ahead.
pull it
go ahead.
off and
Yeah,
then put
there
it
you
back
go.
on. There
Get
you
comfy.
go.
It's all right.
I'm not going to let you look like that throughout the entire video, Jackie.
sorry. It's just my head is small. There we go. Yeah, some of the books are just things that I wouldn't read as an adult. Okay, pornographic, visual, language worthy, and some of these books are for 6th graders. Okay, that's what pisses me off the most. And so I will say, I went to a school board meeting. I go to everyone. I'm that thorn in their
Good
side.
for
So
you.
listen, I've had this conversation with Marissa 100 times. I said,
I've been trying to make my soul that thorn.
yeah, I really want to get involved more. Not so much. I don't know where my daughter's going to go this year. She starts pre-K. Homeschooling is really, I don't really have the time for it. but unfortunately, it seems like it's either that or private school. So it's one or the other that she's going to have to go to. But my argument is, why should she have to go to private school when I pay taxes
That's
in
it.
HISD district? So I said, the only way that I'm going to be able to put my point across or make my point to anybody with this argument, right, is if I get involved. And I was telling Marissa, and I talk about this with my girlfriend all the time, and I say, it's going to take for me I'm going to have to go to these board meetings from now on. Like, I need to attend, because if I'm going to advocate or I'm going to fight for this, right, it's like, what are you using our money for?
Yeah.
Because the teachers don't get paid that great.
No.
So, okay, we can't say that it's going to salaries, because, I mean, you've got to have a master's degree in order to even be a counselor. So there goes that.
Really?
Oh, yeah, you can't have a bachelor's degree for a counselor. You have to have a master's degree.
Damn.
And they're
And-
all woke. I
Yeah,
mean, every single one of them's woke. So
Yeah, it's like, you know...
This is officially the
it's-
Pink Pill Tamales
Yeah,
of
that's
the
my
year.
my husband's podcast is called Red Pill Tamales, and so
Oh my gosh,
I'm
I love
I'm
that.
like not red all the way, not because of my beliefs. It's just because I don't like to dabble. It's too much with
It's
the
so
politics.
controversial.
I know.
It's so much to handle. So I stick to the transgender and the children. That's my.
Oh, that's way better. That's not polarizing at all.
That's my baby. That's what I kind of talk about the most.
What
because
kind of baby?
because you know that's where my soft spot is, because
Yeah.
I just feel like what is your agenda with our children? Like, fuck it, if
I
you
know.
want to do that yourself, I'm all for it. Call yourself what you want, pronoun yourself what you want, dye your hair whatever color you want, but it's like, you can't go into a school and start teaching religion to children, because that's the
They
main
should.
religion. But I'm saying, but it's not allowed. So
I know.
how is this allowed?
You know, we've made these comments about this, and people are like, well, the Bible has bad stories in it too. And I'm like, what, like Sodom and Gomorrah, like basically what's happening
just
now?
talked about that
this
too.
I'm like, wake up, you guys. Like, yeah, the Bible teaches us things so that you learn from it. And these are teaching you things so you become it. It's a completely different mindset. And like, the push is just so uncomfortable. It's also just embarrassing too, because we're sitting here like, this is the curriculum for our kids. Like, you guys are okay with this? So we went to a board meeting. I read one of the books called Flamer. I was the only one who read a book. I'm like, screw it. Let's just call these people out. Like, I'm tired of this crap. Okay, so let me just say one thing. Every school board meeting, it's typically the same group of us, the same moms who go. And we're all light-skinned complexion, which is fine. But the board members have a problem with it. they called us out and they said, there's not enough diversity in this room.
Okay, well, I'm joining.
And
then.
I no, well, we have more people joining us. And they're like, they really said that to you? I said, yeah, Elizabeth Santos. I'll call her out. I can't stand her. She's a bitch. Her and I do not get along. I mean, I literally stare at her when I read these things. When I read that book, Flamer, and what it says in that book is basically they're bullying this kid who goes to camp. He knows he's gay, but he's not sure. And so he's just trying to learn, you know, how do I navigate this situation I'm in? Well, he's in this situation where he's being bullied to basically jack off in a Mountain Dew bottle. And if he doesn't do it...
Whoa. It's in a book,
Yep,
Jackie?
for sixth graders. Middle school.
Keep going.
So he has to either jack off in this bottle, and if he doesn't do that, he has to drink it. And so I read this book, and all the other board members were like, oh my gosh. And then Elizabeth Santos, the devil, she says, those books need to stay in the school.
What's her role?
I don't know. She's a District 1 board member. I don't know what she does in her regular life because it's a volunteer position. But she is so connected to political nonsense. Because so Caroline, I remember you talked about it in your last podcast. We helped 5 out of the 2 that made it on the board try to get elected. Like a bunch of us parents just rallied to get these conservative voices on because, you know, politics aside or not, it's woke versus not woke right now. And that's the problem. Like whether you want to be a Republican or Democrat, I don't care. It's like, do you have morals or not? Because that's kind of what we're boiling down to. So we got 2 of them on the board. Problem is they're outnumbered by these crazies. And a lot of these people have been paid off big time by huge donors from California, Washington, D.C., even like campaigns like Adrian Garcia. And like, there's so many things that are so...
You want to hear something crazy about Adrian Garcia?
Oh, gosh.
So my sitter, her brother-in-law owns a mechanic shop, and he leases from a doctor who has his... So basically, it's the clinic, and then over here, it's like another business, and that's where he is. Well, that doctor really supports Adrian Garcia. And so they assume because they trust this doctor so much, because he's helped them out so much, that Adrian Garcia must be legit. And so he came and talked to them and said, I will promise that I will get you guys' papers fixed. And I said, how is he going to do that? When she came and told me, because she was selling plates for him to fundraise money. They were selling food plates. They were selling, they were giving a discount. They own a key company type thing. And they were doing all sorts of things to raise money. And then she said to me the other day, she goes, you know that Adrian Garcia, all it is bullshit. I said, I told you that. He goes, he's not doing anything. And now when we ask him about it, he says, well, I don't know what I can do. Duh. I said, I told you that. I was like, why are you, because I was so, why are you doing this? Because she's like, would you like to buy a plate? And I was like, no. And she looked at me and I felt really bad saying no, right? But I said, I can't. I'm like, I don't support him and I can't do that. I was like, but if I give you money for him, that's me participating in what this guy is not doing. Because I was like, he can't do anything for you. So crazy thing is, it's like they're already in. They're going to be. It's like the other lady. What's her name? The black lady who's been here forever.
Sheila
Jackson. What does she do?
She's horrible.
What does she do? She's been here for
What
so
has she done
long.
since the mid-90s?
And like nothing.
She does nothing. And she's got like 5 different offices in the Houston area that we're all paying for that are vacant. So trust me, I wanted to slap pedophile signs on her door.
Man. Hello.
This is the way that like I fight. I'm like, we're gonna make signs. We're gonna hire a advertising truck. We're gonna do everything to make their life miserable. And we did.
Great ideas.
We did the advertising truck, the one that says Houston, we have a problem, and it's got Lena Hidalgo and Sylvester Turner.
Girl, I go on Twitter fights on Lena's.
It's got all these people on there, and so many people. The driver told me I met her at like the Kroger in the Heights, and I was like, hey, how's the feedback? She's like, oh, lots of thumbs up. I'm like, that's because there's more of us than what they portray out there. You know what I mean? Like there's so many more of us who are so tired of the bureaucratic nonsense. But it's leaked into our schools, and that's what's scary. I mean, it's terrible.
No, it's insane. And I don't even know how how it's even been allowed. Who allowed it? How did it get that far? That's my question.
That's all of our questions.
Listen, I don't know how old you are, but growing up, I remember there was just things you didn't talk about in school. So sex ed didn't happen until the 5th grade for us, right? And so even then you had to get a permission slip.
Yep. It's still that way. It's still that way in Texas anyway.
Okay.
Oh.
It is. I mean,
I
they
remember that,
technically have to tell the parents, we're going to, teach about sex ed, and it's either you get permission or not.
But they're teaching this without a parent's consent. That's what I don't get.
Yep. I
So
know.
how is this allowed? But sex ed,
and
you need a permission slip? Like how does that even work? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes. And what's crazy is, so the Chronicle, which
the
another one I
Chronicle.
can't
That's- yeah.
stand. So the Chronicle did some
Stupid
montage on their Instagram page of all the parents in different parts of Texas going off. I made the cut on one of them. And
Woo, woo.
I know. I
Everybody
made it
just
big.
give a round of applause. Yeah.
So everybody's like, Jackie, you made the cut on the Chronicle. I was like, yeah, they probably hate me too, just like everyone else. So they made this montage, and in the beginning of it, and it says content warning. And I'm like, wait, time out. You have to tell people on your Instagram content warning when you've got all these parents now reading pornographic books in Katy ISD, Houston ISD, all around us, all over the state.
I didn't know it had literally happened here until I saw. Let me tell you how I barely found out when you posted the HISD thing. When you posted the Bel Air, what they were having. I was like, whoa.
Oh, the feminist club?
It's in Texas? Hold on.
It's a feminist club?
Yes.
But the
what I read
feminist-
earlier.
Okay.
Where it was
I guess I missed that part. Yeah.
biphobia,
Transphobia, homophobia.
I was like,
but why are the feminists preaching this? They're the feminists are,
so fucking confused.
oh my God,
They
they're
don't fucking
driving
know.
me nuts.
How are you not fighting for? How are you okay with trans?
Well, that's something. So it's funny. So I have a podcast, Probably Problematic, and my co-host Rebecca is an ex-feminist. Okay, and so we have great conversations because she's like, oh yeah, I went down that path. It was horrible. And so we always, go back and forth, and we're like, how on earth are these feminists okay with a guy just coming in, winning first place?
How?
Because he sucks at the males competition. But you don't see it the other way, because why would a woman who goes trans go to a male sport because they would be dead last? Like it's like, I'm so confused by the whole thing. It just drives me nuts. But what's crazy is that, so going back to the books, there's transgender books in elementary school. Oh yeah. It's subtle. And it's even worse in the suburbs than it is in Houston, to be honest.
In the suburbs. Oh,
Yes,
I
because-
wish Rob.
Yeah, right? What are you talking
Rob,
about?
he gives me a hard time for living in the city.
Yeah, it's way worse. Like I'm not
He
gonna.
thinks it's worse
Can't
here.
possibly.
It is, but it's okay. So like Montgomery County's probably okay right now, but somebody messaged me on the HTX Kids First page and was like, hey, do you know anything that's going on in Montgomery County? I was like, no, honestly, I can only focus on one. I was like, I don't have time to be going down every ISD's rabbit hole. I was like, but if you want to find something, here's what you got to do. Just start asking questions and start getting involved, because that's the only way you're going to find out. But I know some parents in Katy fighting the fight, and Katy is way worse than Houston. Way worse. And I have a friend who's in McKinney, Texas. McKinney, even worse. And McKinney's a
McKinney's
suburb
tiny.
Small, yeah.
of Dallas. Yes. And it's terrible there. So I'm telling you, they already knew they could get the city. I mean, that's liberal right there, right? They're like, oh, that'll be easy. They were really after the conservative towns, the smaller.
And how have they allowed it to happen?
They don't
Because
know.
They don't know.
They don't know.
They don't tell anybody. They use COVID as such an excuse too to keep people out of the schools for 2 years. Think about it. Like, oh, this is our time to infiltrate because now we're not letting anyone in. Just it makes perfect sense when you think about it. It's like, oh, well, yeah, I guess they could have done everything under the guise of COVID. And I pulled my son out in August. I was like, you're going private. We're done.
Really?
Yeah, because I said HISD can kiss my ass. I'm so done with this district. And but what I did like was when he was virtual for that hot second of time, because I could hear everything that was going on, see what they're teaching, listen as I'm working, and I'm like, you know, minding my own business, but at the same time, it was also really good. Now you have no clue what's going on. And then you've got these adults, these teachers, these woke teachers, not all of them, the ones who are like, you don't have to tell your parents that, or you can tell me your pronouns, but you don't have to tell your parents.
How is that allowed? So I'm still not done, guys, and don't judge me on the
There's no way we only do one of these. We're gonna have to do several.
Yeah,
This is
for
gonna be a
sure.
series.
There's no way we're gonna be this. This has to be a series for sure. Irreversible damage. So I'm reading that book, and it's about transgenders. Have you read it yet?
No.
Oh man,
It's good.
man. Basically, her attack is more so on why are so many little girls wanting to transition into boys. This was not happening. So basically, they've done, so it's not like her conclusion. It's based on what do you call it? Surveys. It's based on a bunch of stuff, bunch of research and so forth. And basically, it's because of social media influence. So you are my friend and we're in school together, and basically you start telling me like, oh, I feel like a boy. Word? Okay, well, that's what's up, right? And then it's like, don't you feel like? You're like, no, not really. How could you not feel like a boy? Let's think about it. We both like to do these kind of things. And it's like, oh yeah, but I think I do kind of feel like a boy. So then you start doing this. So there's a story on there about a little girl who was big in ballet, right? So she had a very promising career in ballet. Homeschooled, parents decide, you know what? Maybe it's time for you to go to school because you just been by yourself with us. Now, mind you, they're a lesbian couple, okay? The parents of this child. So she goes to school and decides she joins the LGBTQ straight like alliance or something like that. So these are like for straight people that support the LGBTQ. And the moms were like, oh, well, that's kind of cute. She's kind of trying to support us, you know. And they told her like, listen, you do know that you don't have to like support us. Even this is a lesbian couple we're talking about, okay?
Yeah.
Like you do know you don't have to join this. Like we know that you support us. You're our child, you know? It's like, no, I want to be a part of this. So she meets this little girl in this group who was a basketball player. And so she just the parents start to kind of notice this different attitude. And she's like, she's a teenager. Well, she had this huge recital, right? And the little girl that she was running with around, you know, like her friend was transitioning into a boy. She was kind of wanting to be a boy, right? And so then she invites all her new friends from her school to come watch her at her recital. And the little girl who was like telling her like comes to watch, the mom says, I guess the conversation with the daughter, and she says, I just feel like they were looking at me and judging me. So after that, she started to want to transition, right? And her parents were like, okay, where is this coming from? Like, we can't possibly be your influence because we're a lesbian couple.
Right.
So she's like, what's kind of happening here? I don't get it. So she starts pushing this thing where she wants to be a boy, and they're like, well, we wanted to be supportive because I mean we're lesbian couple, we went through that, so we thought, but she's the description is she's the girliest of girliest, ballet dancer, gives up her ballet career where this was going to be her ride to being like a prima ballerina and all this stuff, and the parents were devastated because they had no idea where this was coming from. Then they find out it was from this little girl who she was trying to be friends with so bad and wanted to be accepted by this group. Parents were later kicking themselves in the ass for putting her in school, public school. It was actually a private school. I'm sorry. In a private school, she was kicking herself in the ass for putting her in school. They're like, man, we did such a good job of homeschooling her this whole time. And then all of a sudden we thought maybe it's time for her to go mingle with more children than just the the homeschool environment. And this happens. She no longer wanted anything to do with her parents.
Oh gosh.
she went on her, made an Instagram page where everybody applauded her for transitioning. And so that's what they're looking for, is this applause.
Yep.
This, oh my God, you're such a hero. You've done such you're so amazing for wanting to transition. You're so brave. And so the parents were like, what did we do wrong? It's like, what did we do wrong? Like, they're like, it's like, we were being supportive, but this is not, she's like, the parents were like, they're being interviewed. She's like, it'd be a different thing if we saw this as like a little girl. Well, maybe,
Yep.
she's going to end up, we kind of saw signs. There were absolutely zero signs, she said. And that's where I'm at in the book. And it's the most devastating thing to know that little girls, so it's up by 5,000%.
Yeah.
Of
I
little
believe
girls
it,
wanting
though.
to transition. 5,000, not 50%, not 10%, 5,000%. How is that even a number?
I believe it because you've got social media influence. You've got these dummy celebrities out there who I can't stay. I'm done with Hollywood. Bye. Who are out there promoting their kids. Have you noticed how all the celebrities' kids are wearing, like, the boys are wearing dresses, the girls are wearing boy clothes, whatever. I was a tomboy growing up. But thank God my mom wasn't like, oh, do you need to be on like hormone blockers or
But
something?
what makes you think that as a parent? That's what
Well, I can tell
as
you.
a mom.
I don't know, but my friend is a teacher in HISD, and she has a student in her class who is a boy who wants to be a girl. And a friend of mine, her son got in trouble at the school for calling him a he instead of a she, because this is the world we're in right now. I mean, this is middle school. Because he didn't address
the right
the
pronoun.
right pronoun, he's now in trouble. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, you've got to be joking.
Wow.
And the poor child, I know him, and he's like, I didn't think I did anything wrong, Miss Jackie. I said, no, you didn't do anything wrong. I mean, how are you supposed to know when, all this is so ass backwards? But the thing is, that boy has two dads. That's fine. Great. But the dads are pushing it to make the boy a girl. I'm
Well,
like,
then why did they adopt a girl if they wanted a girl?
correct. It's like,
Where's the fun in that? You can't manipulate anybody that's already, you got to be able to have some power over a person.
it's just so bizarre, though. It's like, I say this on our podcast all the time. The push is taking away the family unit. The push is taking away God's creation. And that, it's so satanic as it all just goes down this hole. Like, as you start to unravel it and you read these books and you start to see what's happening with these woke teachers. I mean, everything is so woke right now. It's awful. And it's just so satanic. I mean, that's really what it is at the end of the day.
I don't
it's crazy.
understand what it's like. Listen, teacher, your only job is to teach math, science, English. Where the fuck do you think you get the right to teach my child about gender?
No.
And there's only two genders. Let's just be clear.
I know.
Let's just be clear. The fact that you want to transition into something else, that is you wanting to do that. That has nothing to do with the way you were born. You were born either a female or a male.
Yeah.
You either have a vagina or you have a penis. You either have balls or you have ovaries. Like, it is what it is. Like,
Yep.
that's all there is to it. Now, you wanting to change, I get it. That's how you feel, and I'm okay with it. I don't care what you want to do, but don't bring that to my child to where now my child may be questioning, like, well, I maybe want to be, I like soccer. Well, I like to do Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Does that mean I want to be a girl? I mean, a boy? Maybe. I don't know. Like,
I know. It's so bizarre. And HIC just hosted a Pride Summit on Saturday.
Okay, so listen, I reposted your thing in my podcast account because I don't really do any of this on my personal social media. But I posted it, and I wanted just to get people's feedback, what they thought about it. I reposted the Bel Air, this one, and I said, "How do you guys feel about that?" And people were like, "They're gonna be who they want to be, so you might as well." Some were like, and everybody was like, "Vomit." The
Emojis.
little emoji
Yeah.
with the vomiting. Most of them were vomit.
Yeah.
Because I can't believe it. This is where is it? The one that you posted where they're all on this
Yep, there's a whole panel.
Oh, here it is. I DM'd this to you, Rob.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's my thing. I have no problem with gay, lesbian, none of it whatsoever. My problem, okay, so if you've seen all those woke teachers saying, how will I ever, so now I can't come to school and talk to my kids about how my weekend was with my partner. What?
Yeah, I never heard that from my straight teachers.
My straight teacher never came to my class and said, how was your weekend? Good. How was yours? Good. What did you do? We went to whatever. She didn't say me and my husband,
Nope.
my straight husband. I mean, that's never like talked about. Like, I don't
it's so
know.
weird.
It's personal. Little girl, little boy, you don't need to know my personal business. Like, we don't need to get along like that. Like, I'm your teacher. You are my student. There is a line that we don't cross, period. It's just like at work.
Yep.
You know, unless this person's really your good friend that you work with. And even then, if you don't hang out on the weekends with them, you're still kind of like, what's up?
Exactly.
You know, it's like, you're not going to sit there and talk all your personal business to them, you know?
Yep.
So I don't get where this crying, I don't feel like myself. Come to school with your purple hair. No one cares.
I know.
Like, no one cares. And kids are not going to worry. Why is your hair purple? They're going to question me and I can't say why. Why do you know you dyed your hair purple for a reason? Like, I thought you just liked it. Like, if I dyed my hair purple, it's just because I wanted to dye my damn hair purple.
Right.
How many different color hairs have you had in the last couple
I mean,
months?
I do pink. I've done, that isn't like,
Right. But
I
now
mean-
but now it's like this whenever it's sad. And I don't like judging, but these days
Can't help it.
I can't help it. Every time I see someone with like blue hair, a crap load of piercings and tats, I'm just going to assume they're probably woke.
yeah.
Typically not wrong.
No,
I mean, it is what it
yeah.
is.
And I'm like, I don't like saying it that way, but it's like, it's so frustrating because it's like they have this look to them and they're like,
Well, their demeanor also follows that look a lot of the time.
It's weird.
But then you have folks in the LGBTQ community who really feel this whole thing about the woke is like hold on a second. Like, we kind of already did the fighting. You don't need to come in and fucking stir shit up.
Right.
Like, we are good. Like, who the fuck are you to come in and start doing all this mess?
Yep.
I mean, I have a friend who feels that way. You know what I'm saying? She just kind of feels like, I'm a lesbian, but that doesn't mean that I need for all this to be talked about at, you know, and she discovered this as an adult. So this was something that she did as an adult later on. And she said it took a lot of self-exploring and realizing that this was what was going on. And you know what I'm saying? We're talking about a 38-year-old person.
Well, I mean, any of these major life-changing decisions is important at a adult age. It's like I was saying to my friends, I said, look, we've all been that jackass in college who gets drunk and gets a belly button piercing. I can say that for myself. Or the one who goes and gets a stupid tattoo that you're like, oh God, that was a dumb decision. Like, but those things can be removed, sort of. And you changing genders or you chopping your boobs off or whatever, that is not a decision to be made lightly, and to be influencing young children that's okay is dangerous because they don't know. I mean, kids are just exploring their life at this point. They're playing, they're learning, they're, you know, trying to just have fun. And we're taking their innocence from them. And what I believe, and I've said this for the past 2 years, is that they are just really pushing the pedophile agenda. I mean, if you just look at the track record of how this is all going, I mean, they're really pushing this on the kids so much where it's so uncomfortable. Like, I always wondered what that plus meant at LGBTQI, whatever. All these, I don't know.
What is the plus for?
I think it's pedophile because if you think about it.
Yeah, but those that are in like the LGBTQ community,
They don't want anything to do with
the
that.
pedophile.
No.
I know.
They get pissed
Well,
about
it
that
was
shit.
the MAPS term was one. They wanted to throw the MAPS term in there.
Yep. They did want maps in there.
Yeah. Which, for those that don't know, it's minor attracted person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is disgusting. And I mean, I found a whole article the other day that was some guy, I can pull it up in just a second. He promotes pedophilia. He said there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, these people are mental. Okay, there's like a mental illness with this.
So that's the argument, that there's, how can we help them if we're bashing them? Okay, so the help, that's fine, help them.
We can't give them the help they need.
They still need to be, they can't be around children. How is that okay?
Correct. Right. Like pedophiles can't live in a certain radius around schools.
Exactly.
And all this, but it's okay to teach kids about sex with adults, or, you know, confiding in an adult to tell them your secrets. That's grooming. That's grooming 101. That's not hard to figure out. Like, there was never an adult in my life besides my parents, maybe an aunt or uncle, that I would ever tell like something personal to. I would never tell a teacher anything personal. Never. A coach, nothing. But nowadays, they're really pushing it that don't tell your parents. You can tell me. And it's like, okay, groomer, you know, like, okay, what the hell? And this makes me bring up Disney, because Disney, I get so mad at Disney now. And I regret letting my son watch it so much. And he's 10. And I'm like, okay, you can't watch this anymore. And he's like, why? And I'm like, because Disney sucks. I was like, it's terrible. They're teaching you things that you don't realize. Because I'll hear it in the background and I'm like, what did they just say? Like,
there's a lot of those subliminal messaging in there.
And
Yes.
we have the Disney app because of my husband's niece. And I don't know what my daughter wanted to watch. He's like, oh, I need you to cancel that Disney. I was like, we don't even pay for it. I was like, that's your niece's account. I was like, so what do you want me to cancel? He's like, well, log out of it. I don't want Penny to be watching anything on there. I'm like, okay. And he goes, do you want to know why? I was like, I guess because of the whole thing. It's like, no, have you seen the movie? I didn't know. I told you this last time. I didn't know there's actually a movie. There's a little short film on there. I don't know if you've seen it.
which one?
Where it's two guys.
Oh, gosh.
And so the story is this, and I couldn't finish watching it. We were leaving, but I was like, no way, Jose. So it's which I feel is fine. Okay, the situation is fine. It's the fact that you've made a movie for little kids to click on is where I have the problem. So it's two guys dating, right? One of them, his parents are coming to visit and they still don't know that he's gay. And so the partner's like, so when are you going to tell them? They're like, well, this is what I'm going to tell them. I'm going to tell them now when they're coming over, but you just can't be here. So leave for a little bit. And so the parents come, he's got a picture up of him and his partner. He brings it down, like he throws the frame down so they don't see it. And I'm just thinking, they really have this on here? My husband's like, I've been telling you, you see what I'm talking about? I'm like, no way. So I didn't finish watching it. We were leaving, but I was in shock. Listen, like I said, I feel like if you like another male, that is fine. But why are we making a movie about it so that kids can watch it? I still think at the end of the day, it's still up to the parent to explain these things to them. Not another, a stranger, a person who went to college to teach arithmetic, English, math, whatever subject you choose to make it your career. Your job is not to teach about this. Never. You're not a parent. And I get it that you watch my kid for all these hours, right? But it's not your job. Your job is just to teach them, make great memories there. We had this conversation last time, because I'm telling you, we had these conversations a lot. I was told Rob, you know, I can tell you which teacher was my favorite teacher. My third grade teacher always had the best books. And I loved her class because she had I told him, I said, I still own those books from my third grade class because I would buy them after we would read them. She was such a great teacher. My first grade teacher was such a great math teacher. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Those are my memories. I had a great math teacher. People say I have a twang. I don't hear it, but you know, I went to school and I didn't know, my first language was Spanish. So I didn't learn English until I went to school, but you hear twang, you hear the accents of other people, not your parents.
Right.
So when people say, where's your, and I always say it's Miss Martin, because that's who my influence was. So do you see what I'm saying? Like growing up, I am 40 years old. So growing up, teachers were a different thing. They were actually like,
they were older too.
They were older.
Yeah.
Yes.
They were always like older, and always like you felt like they were either mom age or grandma age, right?
Yeah.
And
When I started getting in high school, though, we had some hot teachers, and I had to say, like, "Dang, coach, like, what's up?"
Yeah. Yeah. I when I got into high school, there was one coach that the girls would throw themselves on it. And it was insane. I was just like, y'all little girls are really about to start some problem. I was like, I used to always be like, I hope this man does not like bite, because that would be awful. But I mean, these girls were throwing themselves on him, like any chance they could. They'd be like, hey, and like kind of come by and like kind of pat him like this. You could see the face of being just the most uncomfortable situation, but it was almost like, wow, these little girls really like, I mean, he was a handsome guy, but it wasn't like, I don't know. I saw him as an older like man, you know? So the fact that these little girls were, and I say little because we were little. I mean, we were 16, 15 years old. We were still little. It's just
but it's
different
different.
times.
Yeah. Well, you know what the age of
time.
consent was back in the 1920s? And in the majorities of the country, it was like 14, 15.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That was only 100. I say only, but it was only 100 years ago.
Yeah.
We looked at that age of consent way radically different.
I didn't know that. That's interesting. Well, I'm glad it's gone up.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like kids can't buy alcohol till 21.
So how can you
or-
make this decision
Dude, I
at
know.
5, at
Right.
4?
Or buy cigarettes till you're 18, but then yet you can read pornographic materials in school. And
Can't
then
vote
be
till you're
okay with it.
18.
Can't
That
vote
needs to
till
go
you're-
up too.
Right.
In my opinion.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
kidding.
Unpopular
sure.
opinion, but
Yeah.
it does.
Unpopular opinion, but I agree because you're just filtering all these kids in. It's
And
an
for me, I
agenda.
feel like you've not yet even paid a bill
Right.
or paid taxes. So how the hell can you vote for someone?
they don't even know.
Hey,
They don't
we got to
know.
get back to, because we only have so much time with you today.
Okay.
So back to the whole mission, like the books, the library.
Yep.
Where does this all start? You said your kid's in private school now.
He's in private
So
school
now you're basically just a concerned mother who's a taxpayer who's on a mission, right?
I'm on a mission to take these people out.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
I'm like
100%.
I mean, I have friends though who are in the group that I'm in who have kids in this district, so they're passionate. But I'm like, let me fire off. Like, I'll say all the things you don't want to say. Like me and Angela Box, she's a great resource to listen to too. She's fiery. You might want to have her on your show one day. She's awesome. Angela is a former teacher from HISD, worked in like a really bad neighborhood. And so she has seen how bad, it can be in some of these areas. Well, the thing is with Houston is it's such a big city. Okay. And even the poorer neighborhoods, they're not getting anything, right? They get no money. They get no funding. They don't even have libraries, most of them. And to their benefit right now, that actually might be a good thing. It's the only time I'll say that. I think that the kids need to read. They need to read the right stuff.
But aren't they trying to get rid of libraries in general?
Yeah, well,
right? I read
yes
something
and
like
no.
that.
Yes and no. So HISD has this huge budget issue right now. Huge.
You mean that you don't know where their money's going?
Well, that, and they got all this. They got $1 billion from the federal government from COVID relief, whatever. It's called ESSER funding. It's total BS. They cut budgets this year, so parents are now angry. I'm like, oh, now you come out, which is great. Come out, but like, fight the fight. We may not agree on all things, but we're agreeing that this district has problems. Like, our kids in this city need to be educated. And we're seeing there's 95 schools in this city without libraries, but then they want to hire more librarians, more coaches for some of these other schools. We're like, why do you need librarians? And I'm like, I know why they need librarians. They need woke librarians to go push these books. I found a few of them on Twitter. They're weird. They're on the page. There's this guy on there. He calls himself the Bald Librarian. He looks like a total creep. And he's at, I think it's Chavez High School. No, not Chavez. I found that librarian too. She's also woke.
Oh, that's down the street.
Is it really? Okay. So Chavez High School has a ton of the bad books. A ton. And these are books. I'm going to read you one. I really want you guys to hear this because I don't think people realize how bad this really is.
I'm
Yes.
telling you.
The severity of it all, I
it's
think, goes over a lot
crazy.
of people's heads.
Well, and so
And everybody thinks like, oh, we would know. No, you wouldn't know.
you wouldn't know.
Nah, bitch, you don't participate. How are you
Yeah.
going to know?
So
And that's my argument all the time. I think us parents, a lot of parents are so busy with working and trying to take care of bills that this is such a job for them. It's an extra job. It's like, damn, I don't have time for that. You know?
Yeah, we talk about that a lot.
Yeah, and I feel like, and that's that's my whole thing. It's like, okay, I don't have time either, but if I can be a voice, especially for the Hispanic community, because when I talked to my sitter about, did you know No, not at my grandkids' school. I'm like, okay, well, just be alert because this is the things that are happening. Like, they were getting all this free food during
Yep.
during the summertime, and I was like, what is that for? And so she's like, oh, there's, I guess she's HISD also. Her grandkids, they're getting food. Certain kids get food home, which I get it because there's some kids.
That's not the only meal they eat.
Yeah. And I feel like that was important. So that was good. But then you had them also having to do stuff where they didn't have a computer to be able to do she was doing, the little girl, when I was doing her homework on her phone, on her mom's phone.
Oh my gosh. Well, see, that's the thing. Okay, so there's $1 billion just floating around. Where is it going? Where is it being funded to? Teachers aren't getting raises. You know, they are struggling with teachers. I know this from my friend who's a teacher. I mean, it is so hard to get substitutes. It's hard for anything right now. I mean, it's just crazy. And yet we're spending all this money on librarians and just ridiculous things. I mean, the book situation is so disturbing because we can't find a tie to any of it. And when I asked for a FOIA request, public information request from the district about like, where are you getting this from? Who's funding it?
George
they're like,
Soros.
Yeah, exactly. But they're like, oh, we don't have that information. I'm like, bullshit. Like, you are lying. Like, I specifically asked very specific questions because there's this one little bookstore in Houston called Blue Willow Bookshop. It's in Memorial area. It's a tiny, tiny bookstore. Yet they're grossing like $1 billion a year or something, or $1 million a year or something like that. They have connections to almost every ISD in our area. Every teacher, this is how far down the rabbit hole I go. I love
it. Where's Alex Jones when you need him?
I know.
Man.
But what's crazy is that a lot of the teachers and librarians that I find on Instagram or Twitter, they're always reverting back to Blue Willow. They're tagging them and they're like, thank you, Blue Willow, for the books and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, these motherfuckers.
And they're in an area that's
It's a nice area.
kind of...
Okay, so get this. This is also fun knowledge to know. Even like these areas that have money behind them, they're not getting funded for certain things either. So I don't know. Your children are small. They're not in school yet.
No.
Okay, so
We got time.
Yeah.
We got time to fix it.
Good. Well, hopefully, yeah, we will. We're going to fix it. So what I've noticed is a lot of these schools, especially in these neighborhoods, have these extravagant fundraisers that raise hundreds of thousands of dollars for these schools, these PTA organizations, PTO, whatever. And I'm just like, okay, first of all, our taxes pay for this stuff. So why are you guys organizing and spending more of your hard-earned money? You can just say that, hi, I'm rich, take my money, whatever. You want to flaunt? That's great. But there's no need to do that when this district gets so much money. So, but yet they can't fix leaky roofs. There's ACs, HVAC units out. And these are in like neighborhoods in River Oaks and the Heights where some of these schools have leaking roofs and no working ACs in our city. And then you've got students down in, Sharpstown who have no library. Books are empty, or the shelves are empty. I mean, it's just like you read all this stuff and you think to yourself, why is it like this? And then you ask the school board members, they've got no answer. They never respond to emails. Never.
Of course.
Vote them out.
Why would they?
They don't want to put this stuff on the agenda because they talk around. I'm telling you, you need to go to the school board meeting.
You said it was Thursday, and I'm not here Thursday.
That's okay. It's every month.
Yeah, the first week of every month, right?
Second week.
Second week of every month. Okay.
It's an absolute shit show. I mean, to sit in there and you're like, this is what my taxes are paying for?
Have you dug into teachers' unions by chance?
Oh. Okay, so we have an arch nemesis. His name is Zeph Capo. He's the Texas American Federation of Teachers Union president. He's awful. Okay, he's absolutely awful. They all are. And the teachers unions are really a big thorn in the side of all of this. They influence political.
They're the biggest donor.
They're the
to
biggest donor.
Democratic Party.
Yep. They have all their political ideologies spewed on everybody. They, coerce the teachers to join these unions. Then they're hell bent on them. You know what I mean? So it's like, the teachers union's other problem. They infiltrate with these books. They've got school board members paid off. I mean, it's like, it's so in your face. But I think what's happening now is they realize we're on to them. So they're panicking. They're panicking now and they get pissed. But what's happened is that you've got these woke leftists who come to these meetings when we're honestly concerned about our kids. We're not trying to be right-wing extremists or whatever.
Because that's what they call anybody who cares about their children.
They're like, here comes the MAGA group. It's like, no, we just care about our kids and we don't want them learning.
You're domestic terrorist, Jackie.
I'm sure I'm on every list there is. So it's just crazy.
It's okay. We're the brown face of white supremacy around here.
Go figure.
So it's funny. My the guy who cuts my dog's hair, my groomer, he comes to the house. He's black. He's awesome. He's a huge Trump supporter, and that's great. And the way that he says things, though, he's just like, oh, yeah, I get called Uncle Tom all the time. I'm like, oh, my gosh. I'm like, it's just such a stupid world we're living in. Like, but you can't think for yourself. And
don't forget the thought about this guy with the teachers union.
Yeah.
But
sorry, I'm going off on tangents.
No, but going to what you're saying, right? I was told, Rob, I never was friends with anybody. I don't know about you, based on your religion or your political views.
No,
I don't
even care.
Like, I don't care. Like,
Nope.
if you're a good person, if you have a great character, that's all I care about.
Correct.
What you believe in and what you want to do, that's none of my business. That's you.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know where this Nazi, this, you know what I'm saying?
There's a hard line in the sand now.
I mean,
Oh my gosh, it's terrible.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't get it. Like, I don't understand. It's like when we went to the midterms, I was telling Rob, I was like, I don't ever remember going. I've never also.
Oh,
I've
the
never,
primaries.
primaries. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I've never midterms is what's coming up. Sorry. I've never gone to vote for this stuff, right?
Me
But right
either.
now, it matters.
Oh,
right
yeah.
now, I'm there. But I don't ever remember them separating lines.
Nope. Isn't it weird?
And you didn't know when you were going to go vote who you're voting for because it's right. Isn't that like your personal,
It's private.
Right? And now it's like, no, we've got two lines. Democrats over here and Republicans over there. And I was like, is this a joke?
Mm-hmm.
This can't be real.
It's sad because, you know what? I have liberal friends and they're great and we just don't talk about things.
You just don't.
But then I have other friends who've completely written me off, called me names, white supremacist, racist is a great one. I'm like, cool, my husband's Dominican and black. Yeah, such a racist. But go ahead, keep at it.
What about
you know?
family? Pretty cool family or no?
Family is good. Yeah. My dad was a huge Trump supporter to the point where I was like, Dad, you need to calm down.
Yeah,
like,
right.
it's okay. I lost my dad to COVID last year.
Sorry to hear.
Well, remdesivir. I don't want to say COVID. That's a whole nother topic. But yeah, I mean, family, friends, people just nasty. And I'm just seeing it like when we go to these school board meetings, it's like one side of the fence or the other. And I don't want it to be that way. There was a woman, she's a teacher. We were at one meeting, I don't know when it was, a few months ago. And we were there talking about how we don't want our kids in masks. We're not saying not everyone, if you want to send your kid in a mask, that's fine.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
we don't want our kid in a mask. And I don't think there's a
And
problem
it should
with
be a
that.
parent's choice.
Right. So this woman gets in our face and she's like, you guys don't understand because you're not a teacher. And she's wearing a mask. And we're like, okay, well, we just have a question. We're like, what if you want to wear a mask? She goes, well, I don't want to wear a mask because I'm not vaccinated and I want to make sure that they're protecting me. And I'm like, oh gosh. I said, well, that's fine. We agree. Vaccination should be a choice as well. But you can't sit here and put the responsibility on a child because that's not their responsibility to protect you. It's your responsibility to protect you. And she got so mad when we tried to make sense to her. So, I mean, and we were being kind, but all the people that come at us, I mean, they come at us with, you know, guns blazing when we talk this stuff. And so we decided, screw it. We're going to play their own little game. We're going to go in there and taunt them the same way that we do. We don't want to stoop to their stupid level, but I've lost all respect for these people who want to come out and just come at us and call us racist names or,
So what have you learned that other moms or other parents could kind of learn, like over the last, year? Would you say that you've really taken this like as a crash course in what goes on in schools? Like what should parents start doing, looking for, going towards?
So I think the biggest thing is, number one, have a relationship with the teacher. And then you can start looking for the books in the libraries. There is a whole list. So Governor Abbott has a banned book list. And it's not because he's saying that, you can't read these. It's just that these are not appropriate.
People will cut off right there, and they'll make this a clip and be like, she's for banning books. Like, wait a second.
Oh, that's what they say. Yeah, they say, oh, you're a book burner. I'm like, no, I'm not. Actually, I am not sitting here saying ban the books. But if it's clear pornography, it shouldn't be in the school. Now, if it's like CRT based, and I don't care. At this point, I don't care. I think the only thing that matters is getting the porn books out. Mm-hmm. I mean, and if a parent disagrees with me, then I'm going to check their moral compass. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I think if they just start getting involved, and I always encourage people to go to these school board meetings, as much as it's not exciting to be at on a Thursday night, your eyes will open so much to realize what they do in these meetings. And you're like, what am I paying my taxes for? Like, what is this? It's just really eye-opening. I had no clue what those meetings were like. My grandfather back in the day was a thorn in the side of the town that he grew up in. And he would go to every city council meeting, every school board meeting, and everybody was like, oh, here comes Don. He's going to, say some controversial topics. And now that's me. But I really encourage. I never thought that these would matter. And I do see other Houstonians starting to go to more of the city commissioner's court and listening to these meetings as well, because it's just like sitting out there listening to Lena Hidalgo, and you're like, what? What is happening? And so when regular citizens go in and start, trying to figure out what's happening, it starts to expose people to more of, they don't have a clue what they're doing, and they're just being told what to do. I mean, it's obvious. I mean, even the new superintendent, he's got ties to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And we're like, oh, that's cool. That's great. So what does that mean? And, all the conspiracy theorists and people will be like, you're just making this up. I'm like, no, we actually looked at it. It's on his LinkedIn. It's pretty clear. I'm like, I'm not making anything up.
It always goes back to this handful of people. It's like George Soros, the Clinton Foundation, Bill Gates.
It's wild. But like when you start connecting the dots, it's like, holy crap, all these people are connected somehow. And now that we're seeing it and now people are awake, it's becoming a snowball in a good way.
And it saddens me that teachers don't see this. It saddens me that teachers are on their side, because again, this whole safety thing, right? Because it's like, that's the argument. They need to feel safe to be able to, okay. First of all, if you are the teacher of the classroom and you're seeing another kid picking on another kid, you should be addressing it, period, so that can stop, right? Bullying should not be allowed in school.
Right.
Absolutely. None of that should be allowed. But as a teacher, it is your job to have control of your classroom. And your job is simply to educate them on things that are supposed to help them in the future, right? But the fact that all of a sudden your personal views, any of that, you're telling me you're okay with all this? If these kids are I don't know where that's coming from. Where all of a sudden these woke teachers are coming from.
Well, you know what's funny? Well, not funny.
It's almost like it's happening in the college. Then they graduate and they bring that into the school, in the classrooms.
Oh yeah.
And now it's a group of them because they're all being, it's
like
happening in
indoctrination.
exactly. They're being indoctrinated in college.
There's a video of Dennis Prager going around where he was on Real Time with Bill Maher probably like 5 or 6 years ago. Have you guys seen this lately?
No.
It was from years ago where he was saying that they're starting to tell, I think, high schoolers that boys can menstruate. And the whole audience laughed. This is like 2015, 16. This might have been right before Trump or right after Trump's first election. And Bill Maher just like, well, where are you getting this information, And then the whole audience just laughing. And then now you fast forward 6 years later and like, we are full-blown boys got tampons in the restroom.
Oh my gosh.
And now they're saying, well, that's for their girlfriends. It's not for the boys. Like that's their little cover for it.
So why are the girlfriends in the boys' restroom anyway?
Right.
The argument is just the tampons are for the boys to get it for the girls in case, I guess, the girls or something like that.
Oh yeah, that's not gentleman-like. I'm sorry, I wouldn't. Even
It's
if
so-
Why would I want my boyfriend to go give me a tampon?
In the boys' bathroom.
It's so dumb. It's so dumb. But it's
Wow,
been
that
going on for a
argument.
long time. Hey, how much after the hour do you have? Or do you have
oh,
to keep it to
I'm
an hour?
okay. No, we're good. We can keep going.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to keep you too late.
No, don't worry. We're good.
Okay. Okay.
We're good.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
not worried about work today.
So going back to that, so you're saying the head person of the teacher union.
Yes.
You said finish that. You
What
were
was his
going-
name?
Zeph Capo.
Zeph Capo.
And you were saying he's pretty much the responsible for all this that's kind of happening within the teachers union. Like,
Well, he's responsible for Texas Teachers Union,
got
and
it.
he
Okay.
backs up all these liberal ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you guys have seen what's going on in Austin and how much of a shit show that is.
I mean, with the little pride parades and stuff?
Yeah, and the drag queen parades
Yeah.
and the
For little kids, too, not
for
big
little
kids.
kids.
Yeah.
It's not high school level.
No. This is first,
This
second,
is
third.
little kids that they're doing these pride parades in school. And Libs of TikTok actually put it. And Libs of TikTok, I've had them repost a few things for me.
Shout
They're
out to Libs of TikTok.
They're amazing. They've exposed so much. And what's funny is these people are so stupid. They get on their TikTok and do their little rants about how I can't teach these kids my gay ideologies. And you're like, why would you put that on the internet? Now you're putting again, not smart. Because, if you really want to indoctrinate kids, you would do it silently, but that's not happening. It's just bizarre, and I'm interested to see because a few of us, actually, there's going to be several of us who read these books on Thursday's meeting, which will be public, which will be on YouTube,
oh, I can't wait to watch.
and I can't wait to see their reaction. So I contacted two of the board members here that I know. One's a pastor, and the other is she's just a woman who's fighting for the kids. She's a conservative woman who just wants this to be better, this district. And Kendall's doing the same thing. Kendall Baker and Bridget Wade. And I talked to Kendall on Friday and I said, hey, look, so here's this thing with these books. I said, you've received my emails, right? Because I've sent it to the whole board with excerpts of the books. And I said, you're against Texas Penal Code 43.26 or something. And he says, yeah, we got it. He's like, did anyone respond to you? I said, nope, no one responded. And I said, I'm at the point where I'm about to file criminal charges, or I'm trying to find a way. So this is the only good reason social media exists, because it's terrible for kids. I mean, we're seeing how it affects kids in many ways, but from a social sharing perspective, being able to get this information out to the masses. I mean, I only have 1,700 followers on this HTX Kids First page, but it reaches about 20,000 people. So it's getting shared and we're exposing more. And then we've got Telegram groups and all this stuff. So people in Houston are sharing how we can, pin these people, because it's getting to the point where, what do we do? How do we make a big enough wave that shocks them? Because we're done. We're done with this. And I really think that the new superintendent, Millard House, came here with an agenda. I mean, they hosted their first ever virtual LGBT thing, on Saturday. And it's like, and Kendall, he's like, this is wrong. You shouldn't be doing this, not at least for sixth graders, because it went from 6th through 12th grade. So who's to say that an elementary student who's like, I'm struggling with my identity and I saw this floating around, I'm going to sign up, because it wasn't like there was a check to see what grade you were. I mean, anyone in the community could have signed up. I would have. I just had other things to do. But I really wanted to know what the hell they were talking about. And it's just so uncomfortable, because if you saw the pictures of the people on there, there's you're gay, you're trans, whatever. There was a guy on there that looked like he was representing the furry community.
No, I didn't see that guy.
Okay, well, I found a furry book in Bel Air High School the other day. So, I mean, everything is just getting to the point where it's like, what is their purpose here? They want to transfer our kids into this land of make-believe. I don't know. I'm just so frustrated with it, because every week I find something new, and although I'm excited to share it with everybody else, it also brings my level of morality down, because I'm like, how did we get this far?
Oh no, that's my argument every time on this podcast. It's
Every
I'm
week
like,
is like, what the hell is
and
going
it's like
on?
I don't know
Yeah.
what else. I can't take this anymore. This is too much. I really don't know how we got here. I really wonder how we got here. I never seen so much hate. I've never seen so much debate about where you stand, what your political views are, who you believe in, who you vote for. I'm not saying racism doesn't exist, but I see more racism now
It's worse
than ever.
now.
And it's there, but whatever you want to call it, the liberals against conservatives, there's some racist actions happening
yeah.
there. You can't be a certain race and be voting a certain way because you're, either a coconut, you're an Uncle Tom, you're all these names all of a sudden, right? For standing for what you believe in. If we're really the country of practicing freedom, right? Where's the freedom there? Because right now there is none, I feel.
Right.
You're either going to be on this side or this side.
Yep.
There's no in the middle where you're like you just said, politics aside, let's look at the page, like let's look at the agenda in hand. Like, this is what's going on, and you guys are trying to push this in school. Never. I want somebody in the school district, just anybody, find where anything that had to do with religion, sex, anything was allowed ever. I want to see it. Bring it up, bring it out. I want you to show me. And if there is anything where anybody fought it was shut down because it was school. You don't do that shit in school. So why all of a sudden are you allowing these things in school?
Right.
It makes no sense.
It's crazy because we have a friend who's been with our group who is pulling her child from Carnegie Vanguard, which is a very well-known high school. Very prestigious in terms of arts and all that stuff. Well, he came home crying one day because he was told by his teacher that white people are bad and blah, blah, blah. Well, his dad's white, but his mom's Hispanic. And she came to the school board meeting. She was so upset. And she spoke on this. She's like, my child is now being taught to hate his father. And how can this be? Which, it's crazy because nowadays, so many of us are mixed. How do you even stop pinpointing people? It doesn't matter. And I'm so tired of this. And I have a lot of black friends who are like, we don't like CRT because that's just reverse racism. And it's like, yeah, but here we are. You've got this certain group of people pushing this, making kids feel bad about who they are or who their parents are or whoever, right? Or their friend.
Or your parents aren't they're not your safe place.
Right.
What the F?
Or your parents aren't your safe place, so you tell me everything.
Yes.
You tell me your feelings. No. It's like I don't trust anybody anymore. I'm to the point where I'm like, do I need to pull my kid from private school too?
Yeah.
I just it's just
When did we stop
insane.
focusing on STEM? What's the acronym? Science, technology,
engineering, mathematics.
Right. That should be what we focus on as a country, right?
That should be yes. And I mean, I'm okay with arts in the sense of
arts and sports are great, of
arts
course.
and sports and things like that, like the things that we learned in school. And now all of a sudden it's like you go to school and you're going to get indoctrinated on, white people are bad. Read these porn books.
No, it's like a bad time to be white right now.
We say that all the time jokingly.
Like it's a bad time to be white, and it's insane. I've never seen more racism in my life ever before. I went to a elementary and middle school of majority blacks and Hispanics, white being the minority. And then I went to a high school that was majority white, minority was Hispanic and black. So it was a culture shock to me because I went from seeing pretty much a mix. There's white kids in school, but not as many. They were outnumbered, definitely. But then here I came in, I was the minority, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute here. I was like, this is really weird. I've never been the minority. I've always been the majority, And it was like, I felt like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And it was like, where did you get that fear from? Why did you feel like Nothing was going to happen. I went through my high school. My high school were some of my funnest years. I just
Yeah.
posted a throwback Thursday of me and my girlfriends. We used to have like Valentine's Day parties. Like it was like my high school years were one of my best years. You know what I'm saying? Junior high, it was like, I remember I went to a pretty much a gang infested middle school. So it was like, so I can tell you some awful stories there, you know, and that was within my own community, meaning my own race, where we were kind of, you know, fighting each other. And if you weren't part of a gang, and you know what I'm saying, it was kind of that way in my middle school. My point is this, is like, how about we just focus on just fucking living life and stop making this division? But it's like, we don't make no money if there's no division, right?
It's a big part of it, right?
It's like big part of it.
I feel like a lot of this is going to make parents parent harder or parent more, I don't know, just better in a sense, because social media was created when we were in high school, basically. I mean, you know, around that time. And it was formed by our habits and our thoughts and our interactions and engagement with it. So we know what it can do to a person. So now with our kids, like, honestly, and I'm a huge tech junkie, but if it doesn't have a purpose for my kids, they're not going to have it.
Correct.
If they build business and they want to promote their business or they have a service that they're providing, then cool. But it's not just going to be, I'm going to do a dance on TikTok. Sorry.
No, I cannot stand. I mean, there's a reason why certain countries like China bans TikTok.
No, it's turned off at 9 p.m. for them.
Yeah.
Which,
And the things
great.
that, yeah.
Why can't we do
You're
that
right.
here?
Well, of course not.
No.
Why would they do that to the children in the U.S.? This
No.
is where they.
Well, we are free. I don't want them to limit it, you know?
No. I know. But at the same time, you know, everyone dragged the previous president down because he wanted to get rid of it.
Right.
And I was like, at first I was like, well, why would you do that? But then now I see what's happening and I'm like, I'm in.
And then you start getting into big tech, like the algorithms in China are going to push up more of a STEM type of content, whereas in America, it's like I'm doing a dance in front of the camera.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Correct. I mean, we look like a bunch of idiots over here. And it's so frustrating because it's like I believe we live in the best country in the world.
Of course.
And no matter how much of a dumpster fire it looks right now, I still believe it. It's just the good people need to be more vocal.
Yeah.
And
I
that's
think
the
where
thing.
everybody's afraid though right now because it's such a battle. Everyone's afraid to speak, you know, their truth,
Yes.
how they feel, because you don't want someone to attack you or you know, when I'll tell you this, when my husband first, my husband was a big They Can't Deport Us All. I mean, he had a whole album called that. He had a Netflix special
wow.
called They Can't Deport Us All. And so when we sat there for the past 2 years during this thing, it was like, what's going on? I've told the story before. It was funny because I have no idea where Wake Up Right all of a sudden would pop up on my popular page, and I was like, what the hell is this Wake Up Right shit? And
On
I was
Instagram?
like, on Instagram. It was on the popular part, but I had never looked at anything like political. So I was like, why is this all of a sudden here? I was like, oh, that's weird. And so I had clicked on it one day just because I read the headline. I was like, oh God, this isn't true. But then it said, make sure you subscribe to our newsletter in case we get deleted. I was like, who's going to freaking delete you, guy? But I took it upon myself to go subscribe because I wanted to go see what the hell they were talking about. Meanwhile, my husband was kind of getting into this more politics thing. And he's like, and even then I would tell him like, hey, listen, I don't want your opinion to affect my opinion. So don't talk to me about anything. Let me figure this out for myself. Because he was this big thing. And then one day, he's like, hey, I'm going to go to the back. I'm going to go live. And I was like, oh, okay. He always goes lives. No big deal. Man, it was like 2 hours later. I was like, man, he's really been back there for a while. I was like, wonder what's going on. He comes in. He's like, I just went on ahead and went live and told everybody who I voted for. And I was like, wait, what just happened? What's going on here? What do you mean? It's like, yeah, I just said, like, we need to wake up, look what the shit that's happening. And he's like, you know, Latinos need to, and I was like, holy fuck, what's going to happen?
Is he the Latinos for Trump account?
He's not the Latinos
He
for
may
Trump.
as- may as
he
well
might
be.
as well be. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's funny.
And then I was like,
They showed
holy
up on a
shit.
bus, though, at a show.
Yeah,
Did they really?
did. Yes, they did. They came out after it, and it was crazy because I didn't know how this was going to affect him in his career, right? And I was just like, okay. but I wasn't going to say, why did you do this? I felt more like, this is what you stand for. And this is what you believe in right now. And all you've ever been is transparent, ever. Even when you stood for, they can't deport us all, you had a reason why you felt that way. And you have a reason why you feel this way now. Mm-hmm. And so I just kind of felt like, oh, well, if I told you the amount of fuck yous and I can't believe I followed you, you dumb bitch. And you know what I'm saying? It was like, whoa, wait a second. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking about even, a person who was a friend of mine for 6 years. He did work for me as well. Like, you know what I'm saying? We worked together and he was my friend. He literally said, fuck you, you Trump, you Nazis.
Yep.
And
you Trump crusaders.
And we are no longer friends. And I couldn't believe that he's like, you think because y'all watched a few YouTube videos, all of a sudden you understand politics. And I was like, you know me as a person. Like, you legit know me as a person. We've had personal conversations. So you know me, you know my heart.
Yep.
And you still feel like you had to say fuck you. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
and so
yeah.
I was just like, this has got to stop. So I told Rob, I said, I'm not giving a fuck anymore. I don't care anymore.
Same.
So when people would say, I'm going to unfollow you, I was like, so I'd be a smartass. Yeah. And I'd say, thank you for following me. I'm sorry that you don't agree with what I stand, but the unfollow button is there. Yep. And I'd do the wave the hand like this, the bye. And that was
kill
it.
Them with kindness.
I'd kill them with kindness.
But you have to.
I'm not going to argue with you because guess what? My agenda is never to persuade you to do anything.
Correct.
I don't want you to agree with me if you don't want to. If you do see if you have the same views that I do, great. If you don't, that's okay.
Yep.
We're in a world where it's okay if we don't agree. Mm-hmm. But because we don't agree doesn't mean that we still can't be friends, or doesn't mean that we can't hang out. I don't go hang out with my friends and say like, well, who do you believe in?
I know.
You know?
I do now.
What religion?
Now I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah. Is that a Beto sign over there in your lawn?
I'm like, hey dog, I always tell my dog, poop in this yard.
Kidding, everybody.
I forgot dog bags today. No, I'm just joking. But
right?
But no, it's true. I mean, I went through this same exact experience, and when I lost my dad, people were even more vile because they were just like, oh, you don't believe in all the COVID stuff, but your dad just died, and I'm like, wow.
Jesus, that's dark.
Wow.
Yeah, dark. I mean, I was being attacked from all different sides. Like, people I knew for 30 years. I grew up in Massachusetts, a very liberal state.
My sister's there now.
And, I mean, where my mom lives, it's fine. But, it has its ups and downs. Anyway, these people I grew up with since I was a little kid. And they just, as soon as they realize that I just don't give a shit what I say anymore, I'm like, you know what? I'm tired of pandering to a side of people who say that they're all about acceptance, but then they're not. Mm-hmm. Because the moment that I want to be who I want to be and say what I want to say and say that, yeah, I did vote for this person. I did like him and I did stand by what he said. Does that make me a bad person? No, I'm still the same person I was yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And so it's like, why all of a sudden do you think that all of a sudden I'm now this racist bigot? You've lost your damn mind.
The tolerant left, you mean? The tolerant left?
Yeah, the acceptance of the ones who accept everybody. I'm like, no, you don't.
You don't have to accept. That's just a thing.
Right. And I'm like, I don't care if you guys don't like me anymore. That's fine. We can part our ways and have our memories of the childhood that we did have. And I will cherish that forever. We all, people do grow apart eventually, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. But I would never say ill things about you.
Exactly.
Just because you love Hillary Clinton. That's great.
Yeah.
Ooh. But
weird.
Yeah, it's kind of strange, but it's fine. I don't care. I never was that person who really cared. I only get that way if they're super woke and teaching my kid. That's a different story.
Yeah.
Then we have a problem.
That's where Mama Bear comes out.
Of course.
Because I'm defending my child. Mm-hmm. For me, I could care less because I'm like, I can hold my own.
Yeah.
But getting stuck through the trenches of people's just terrible comments and the commentary that comes behind it. I mean, I had a whole Twitter feed bashing me about one of the school board meetings I went to. And they're like, oh, it turns out she's got a podcast too. And it's terrible, blah, blah. I mean, it was just the longest feed, and I'm laughing. And I'm like, I'm not going to read any more of this. But I just thought it was so funny because my child goes, hey, Mom, I want to Google your name. I'm like, ooh, wait a second. I was like, let me check it first. But yeah, people are just vile,
Yeah.
and it's just
People
unfortunate.
are mentally ill. A lot of them are mentally ill.
Mentally ill is, that's a card that they play though, right? It's like, I have a mental illness, and it's like, okay, well,
let's talk about the post that you just put today or not too long ago.
I'm like, which one?
Where it says, check this out. Or not too long. I'm sorry. Transgender killer now says she identifies as a baby.
Oh yeah. Okay, so
Oh my God.
yeah, this is just getting so strange, right? Like, you can identify as whatever the hell you want these days, which then puts you in this category of, I want to be a tree today, so I'm just going to stand outside. Like, I'm going to tell my job later this afternoon, oh, you know what? I can't work because I need to go get my sunlight because I'm a tree. Like, this is the bizarre world we live in.
I saw the funniest video yesterday where this guy, he's a handsome gentleman, he's like, I now am a hot sexual, and I am only attracted to hot women, and I need everybody to consider me as a hot sexual, and Tinder needs to make a whole app where it's just hot chicks on, and he goes through this whole thing. It's so ironically hilarious. It's just a parody of everything, and that's what we've come to. You have to call me by what I'm a hot sexual now, right? How's that any different than I'm a furry? Or any different than I'm a baby, a 40-year-old, or the guy that's like 40 years old and he's got the dog costume on and he's crawling around with another guy pulling him by his leash. Like, what the hell are we doing here?
Oh my gosh, it's just getting so bizarre. I'm like, Jesus, any day, please blow the trumpets. Anybody?
She just said
I just said that. I'm done. I said, just come on. I'm ready. Let's just fucking blow it up, man. I just exactly what
we
I
know
just
who needs
said.
a shirt as soon as they come in.
Yeah, I just.
So that's funny. So I want to read you guys the speech I'm going to say on Thursday.
Ooh,
Oh,
let's
exclusive.
hear it.
All
Let's
right.
do it.
Well, this comes from the parody of Alex Stein, Primetime Stein 99. Anyway, he's hilarious. When he goes to all these school board meetings and just
Oh, the guy in Dallas.
the guy in
Right.
Dallas who just says the most bizarre things. He called into HISDs last month. He was on Zoom and he's like, my daughter identifies as a lizard and she needs a terrarium in the classroom. I mean,
Did they hang up on him?
no.
Oh my god.
And my friend Marco's sitting next to me. He's like, is he serious? I'm like, he's joking.
Oh my god.
That's so funny.
I was like, he's saying it because this is how ridiculous it's come. So I said, I can either be the serious psycho mom who comes in and just yells at them as usual.
Like a Karen?
Yeah, the Karen of the conservatives come in. They know me as that. But instead, I'm going to do a parody skit. So I'm going to read what I'm going to say. Except I might change it up a bit, but it's going to be pretty much like this. How dare you listen to parents who want books removed or access to porn in the hands of our kids? They need to be over-sexualized so that they can handle being assaulted in school. Let them experience 582 genders so that they know what it's like to be a biologist. It's college prep. And every student should be identifying as a minority because white people are absolutely unhinged and have Nazi ideologies. I want my child to grow up like these privileged white liberal women who have meltdowns in their cars because they feel guilty for the color of their skin so that they have to defend every other minority and country other than their own. Ukraine. And don't forget the purple-haired teachers telling everyone their sexual preference. It's appropriate because Disney said so. What's wrong with people? I want everyone to know my child's teacher is gay and identifies as a frog.
Oh my god, that is
That's great.
hilarious. That's great.
How much time do you get?
I need an applause
Like
right
a
there.
minute.
You get a minute when you're up there?
Yeah.
That's definitely an applause for sure.
That's definitely an
break.
applause right there.
60 seconds? Or you're going to have some time to spare maybe.
I might. It's just, it's so unpredictable because if they have a certain amount of speakers, you either get 2 minutes or one. And I voiced my concern with the board members. I'm like, look, you guys give us 2 minutes max, if that. I mean, if there's like a certain number of speakers and they're like, well, you only get 1 minute. And it's like, what am I supposed to tell
In a
you
minute, yeah.
in 1 minute? And then, the Chronicle had made some stupid comment about me saying like, trying to squeeze all this information in by rushing what she was saying. Well, yeah, because we get a minute to speak. What on earth can I tell this board and the city of Houston what we need to say in a minute's time? I mean, it's ridiculous. You can't even say your name in, 10 seconds.
Question. Does your son know like all that you're fighting
Oh,
for?
yeah.
Does he understand?
Yeah, he's on the next level. It's hilarious. He's like, so last night I'm on a call and he comes in. He's like, I need your phone. I was like, what do you need my phone for? He's like, I got to record this. I got to record this clip from Disney. It was a show. He's like, they're telling us that we need to get our COVID vaccine. I'm like, oh gosh. So then my friends are laughing because they're like, oh my gosh, Jackie, how much have you told him about things? I'm like, he knows a lot. And so he's like, he gets it. And he said when at his last school in HISD, he was at, kids were talking about who their parents voted for. I'm like, no one should be talking about that. And so Nico, my son, blurts out who I did. And everyone's like, really? He's so bad. And he's like, no, he's not. And so I'm like, Nico, don't get involved.
Engage.
I was like, just ignore that stuff, okay? Because kids, they don't know either. And I said, in all due respect, the children just do what their parents do. I said, so sometimes the things I say, you cannot repeat.
Yeah.
And he gets it. I mean, he's 10. He's old enough to kind of comprehend that. But he did say, he's like, Mom, I want to go on your podcast and tell the world that Joe Biden pooped in his pants in front of the Pope. Because he goes to a Catholic school now. I'm like,
oh my God.
I was like, I might let you do that in the summertime when you're out of school. I was like, but right now, let's just ignore we had this conversation.
Wow.
So with all that's going on right now, all this battle of the parents, I don't really know what you want to call it, but do you see like there might be light at the end of the tunnel, or do you feel like, damn, it's going to be a long way there, but we'll eventually get there?
That's a hard question to answer, because I feel like some days that there's light, and then other days I feel like we're just shoved back down into the deep, dark abyss of like not knowing when things are going to get better. I mean, I have a lot of faith, so I believe that at some point God's going to be like, enough's enough.
I pray every night.
I pray every
What I say, Rob?
She just said this.
I ask God every night. I'm like, listen, please, can we just stop? Like, just stop letting the devil win. Can you just please come out and show everybody, like, this is who you are, and you're not going to allow us to live in this insane world. Can we just go back to a little bit of normality? Like, I don't really know what's happening, but this is why this is the t-shirt that he's talking about. This is why I always say, but you need to get right with God. Whatever is happening, get right with God, because I'm just waiting, like you said, for the trumpets to sound, and we're done.
Yeah.
That's a wrap.
Right, for sure. And you know what? People just don't get that part. I mean, I have friends of mine who would say, well, I know your faith is strong. I just don't believe in God. I'm like, well, I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry for you, and I'll pray for you.
And I'm okay with you believing.
Correct.
And that's what I always say. I'm like, listen, whoever you pray to, please pray to them, because our world is fucked up.
As long as it's not Lucifer.
Yeah, exactly. That's a whole other, man.
Please don't. Because I'm telling you, I found witchcraft books in the school district. Like, I'm not joking. Witchcraft, occultism, things. It's so bad. This is what I was talking to Kendall about. Since he's a pastor, I was like, Kendall, look, you got the Lord on your side more than I do. You're closer to him, I'm sure. I mean, I'm close, but anyway, I need you to like do some sort of magical prayer before this meeting on Thursday. I said, because not only am I finding the porn books, I'm finding the occultism books, the ones that are praising witchcraft, and there's so many of them.
I didn't learn about the occult till I was like 21.
Correct. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, but now they're promoting witchcraft so hard on these books because they call it mysticism, and it's just fiction.
It's science fiction.
No, it's not. It's not fiction.
Yeah.
And so, but it all leads to the same path. I mean, the whole being super overly sexualized, and it's all in the same category, whether people want to believe that or not. I mean, that's basically what occultism is, that they're over sexualizing children to hand over their children to the Baphomet and all this. You know, you want to get real deep, but it's sick what's happening. And I'm just so tired of every day I log into this book search because I'm like, I've got to find one today. Let's see what I can post today. And I'm like, are you serious? Another one? Or if you just search by gender, like, or gender pronouns or queer or whatever, I mean, all these books come up and you're like, what the hell? What the hell? Like, why is it here? And what's even scarier is that some of these books, even if they're not in the hands like physical book, they can read it at school on the computer, or it can be audible to them and just listen to it. I'm like, this is getting too much. So even in its big companies like Follett and Scholastic, remember Scholastic book fairs? You get your little paper thing that you're like,
not Scholastic.
Oh no.
What was it? The highlights? Was
Highlights.
Oh man.
It's all so ingrained. And then even Sesame Street is getting controversial now.
No, Sesame Street had a whole thing.
Emma was getting his jabs with Dr.
Yeah, that's why.
What's-his-face.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, and Bert and Ernie, they're like, oh yeah, they're gay. Well, okay, we all knew that, but you don't have to tell the kids. Let them just let Bert and Ernie.
Bert and Ernie were gay.
Yeah, of course. I didn't find that out until I was 21.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
what the hell's
I was like,
going
wait,
on?
what?
Are we
They're
the last
gay? I thought they were
Mohican
just
here?
best friends.
We're like the last generations of normal
I was
people.
okay with them being best
Right.
friends. Like,
It was cool that they were best friends. I didn't need to know that
Who
Bert
said that?
was getting with
I thought they were
Ernie.
like George and Jerry, where like the reporter finds out they think that they're gay, but they're just friends.
yeah, like it was all these things. It's just like
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
I mean, puppets. They're freaking puppets, and they're gay.
Exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
what the
Well, they
hell?
have hands up their butts, so
Oh my God, Rob, you had to.
Sorry, you gotta keep it light.
You went there. Yeah, it's just insane, and I know it's like, oh my God, quit living in your old. But damn, it was just 40 years ago.
I know, it's really not that long.
It's
Yeah,
not
it's
that
not.
long ago.
But
like,
just think, like, even our parents. I mean, my grandmother, she's 96. But my grandmother right now is so skewed because she watches CNN too much. I'm like, Grandma, turn that shit
no.
off. I'm like, you're being brainwashed.
She's one of the only subscribers to CNN Plus.
Yeah, right? You know that they let the kids in this school district watch CNN 10?
No.
Yes, if the teacher doesn't feel like teaching or whatever, they're doing something else, they put on CNN 10. My friend's child told me this. I'm like, y'all are my little insiders. I need you to keep reporting.
You got your
back
own
to
Project
me.
Veritas in school.
yeah, for real.
I was like, just don't tell anyone.
You know what's, and I wonder if there's any volunteer parents at schools
so
that
they
are
don't really let them in.
God, it's still
This is the problem.
still because of the whole COVID thing.
So they're a little bit getting better with this now, but they're not doing it to the point where back in the day they would let parents volunteer in the libraries. I think they're starting to allow that to some extent now. It's just funny. So I've got 2 librarians in this district who's blocked me on Instagram because I was exposing all their activism bullshit books in elementary school. And I'm like, you're blocking me because you're afraid that we're now exposing you. Parents are onto you. There was another one just recently where they had this author who was promoted by Blue Willow Bookstore, who is a they, them, who was a very pretty girl who's now transitioning to a boy, but she's got 2 elementary level reading books, and she was doing an author reading for the school district. In one school, all the parents complained and had it canceled. Well, this school, they didn't tell the parents. So this woman that I know, she found out because of my post, and she called and like pissed at the principal. She's like, why didn't you tell us, And they're like, well, we didn't think anything of it. Of course you didn't, because you think it's fine that, you can read to 2nd graders, this person who's like, hi, my name's so-and-so, and my pronouns are they, them. And kids are probably like, what does that mean? Like, what is a they, them?
A lot of them are like, what are pronouns?
I know. We're like, what's a pronoun? I haven't even learned that
We're
yet.
6.
And yes, but it's like they throw this out there. And so she was pissed. And she's like, this is not okay. You have to realize, like, we want to know when things happen. And it's not like they're sharing curriculums. I think those should be visible for all parents. You should see what you're teaching. My friend of mine who lives up north, she got a hold of a curriculum from New Jersey that is a whole, and I have it. It's a whole for 2nd graders on gender pronouns, and that you have either a penis, a vulva, a vagina, but then it goes into, well, you can switch them.
I just read this.
You just read
I
it,
just read this
yeah.
on the previous before you got here. Yeah.
I'm just like, and she sent it to me. I was like, where did you get this? She's like, my friend sent it to me. I said, okay. So then I sent it to Libs at TikTok. I'm like, you need to post this. Like, this is insane that you've got kindergarten curriculum, 2nd graders on this type of information. It's like, they don't need to know this.
Let me answer your question, Sol. It's going to be an uphill battle.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah. I've never answered the question. Sorry.
Yeah,
I'm like,
no. You're
Yeah.
fine, because that's my thing. It's like, I feel like I need to stop complaining, or maybe stop stop voicing my concerns, right? And actually get involved. I don't really know how to get involved because, like I said, I'm a new mom. My child's just now starting school. This is why it's such a concern for me, right? And I think as a parent, maybe if you're young and you're listening to this and you don't have kids, you don't see this an issue because you're like, well, what's the problem? Because you're all so young. I was you at one point in my life. I was actually you up until 2 years ago, just to be honest.
Same.
So just up until 2 years ago, I was you. And I really didn't think any of what was happening was wrong. And I strongly suggest, and I've said this before all the time on my podcast, is you need to be a free thinker. Not what CNN says, not what Fox says, not what the Daily Wire says, not what anybody says. Whatever it is that you do read, whatever it is that you come across, you should still make it your job to actually look into it just a tad bit more. Because we are getting into that. I ended up in the hospital and in the emergency room, and I had an experience with the registered lady that came in, and she's reading the stuff that she's got to mark off, and the nurse is there, and maybe the nurse, she wasn't sure if she was going to get in trouble, so maybe that's the reason why she was like making sure she really stayed on it. And she said, do you prefer to be called like she or him? And I turned around and I gave her like this look like, what? I looked at her. She goes, I have to answer it on here. And I was like, I think it's clear. I said, I'm a female. Okay. So then the nurse says, why are you asking her these questions? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, she found them weird, right? Nurse steps out. I'm left with the registered girl by myself. And she says, I am so sorry that I had to ask you this. She goes, but I don't really know her. And I didn't know if she was going to like tell on me. She said, last week, she's like, I'll be honest with you. You know how they have that, you know how they have training everywhere every year, right? Mm-hmm. And so I guess she was out when this new training came out and she hadn't taken the training. So she mistakenly called somebody ma'am, and she identified as a him. And so she got written up. Not a warning, not a, hey, sit down. We need to talk to you. This is the world we're living in. Can you please? It was, you need to be like, you should be up on your training. And so she was like, I was on vacation. I was out. You know, I came back. I didn't know. Blah, blah, blah.
I didn't know guys turning to girls when I was on vacation. Sorry.
And so she's like, I'm so sorry. Because I guess I must have looked like offended, right? When she asked me, right? Which I was. Because you asked me, who do you identify as? And I was just like, what the, you know?
What do I look like?
I sound like a woman. I mean, I look like a woman. So I don't know. Like, what do you think? And so it was a bunch of questions like that. It was like, do you want to be called she, her, they, them, all these? I was like, I looked at her. I said, listen, I'm none of the new stuff that they're asking about. I said, it's a no for me. I said, I'm Miss Herrera. I'm a female and I'm here. You know what I'm saying? I have heart palpitations. Like, I'm going on about it. And so she's like, I know. And so when the nurse came back in, the nurse was like, what was that about? Why was she asking you? And I didn't want to tell on her, like, well, she just experienced, but I just said, I don't know. I think it's new things. She goes, new things. I didn't know about this. I was like, oh, well, then you might want to go talk to her because
catch up on your
might
training.
Get in trouble, Miss Ma'am, because if you don't call somebody their right pronoun, you may get written up. You know what I'm saying? And it's, I couldn't believe it. Like, I had totally forgotten while I was even there because it was just like the amount of questions that were being asked. The first half of it were about my gender.
I mean, the hospitals are just as woke as everything else.
Yeah,
really
and I feel like, here's the thing. When you're sick and something's wrong, you have to let them know what you're...
Right.
Because they have to treat you. If you have if you're female or male, that's the thing. There's different types of care for each gender, right?
It's like, are you pregnant? Oh, you're a female because men can't have babies.
Right. No, don't say that.
Okay. Whoa.
Don't care.
Come on.
2 hours later, that's the most controversial thing you could have possibly said on here.
And, you know, and that's the thing about the feminists. Like, where are you guys right now? Why aren't you fighting for this? Like, I birthed at home. So my oldest daughter was born here at home. Everybody has the right to birth however they want to birth, but it was when my husband was crying, but I wasn't. He was like, why aren't you crying? I was like, I was in this weird trance.
Yeah.
Like I was like, holy smokes. Like I grew this little human in me. It literally just came out of my vagina. I'm looking at her and it was like, I was processing everything. And I was like, what? I am like a fucking superhero. I'm like, damn, I'm badass. Like it was like this insane amount of power that I felt. You couldn't tell me nothing. Till this day, you can't tell me I can't do something. I grew a human in me and it came out of me. And now this human talks back to me. Okay? What are you telling me? You're telling me that a male can do that? No,
first
I
of all,
don't
they
care.
would never handle it.
Exactly.
Hey.
Number one, they
Watch
can't
ourselves
handle
here.
it. Two, what hole is it going to come out of?
Right.
Their butthole?
They'll
Their
figure
pee
it-
hole?
they'll figure it out. Yeah, they'll figure it out.
They're C-sections, right? Oh, but it's a C-section. But you still have a like. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, make it make sense.
Right.
That's all.
And then they cut their boobs off, so then they have no way to feed their child. You know, again, this is the whole destroying the family unit. This is the plan that is so satanic. It's just
That's why I said it's like I'm okay with whoever you want to be. If you want to identify as a tree today, that is fine with me. But listen, it's very black and white. There's just two genders. How you feel is a different thing. That's called a feeling.
Yep.
That's not called a literally biological thing that you have.
I'm not a biologist.
Like, you know. And so my problem with that is, dear feminists, you so call yourself a feminist. Where are you right now in this battle? This battle of women have worked so hard to even be a part of a lot of sports that are male dominated for you to actually have a female competition of this same sport. Let's start with UFC, for example. It was not heard of at first for women to be able to fight. Women are allowed to fight there now. And you're going to tell me that you're going to allow a transgender female to fight another female? Here's the only way that I'm okay with this. If the female you are fighting is okay with knowing that you were male at one point, then I have no problem. Because girlfriend, you know what you're about to get yourself into then. Then you know that this fight's going to go real different than if you were to fight someone who is a biological female. Let's just say it. This whole swim team thing, right? Same thing too. That the entire people, all the women you were competing against, did you go ask each one of them if they were okay competing with a man who transitioned into a female all of a sudden? And
he doesn't even look like a girl.
Nothing about him. Nothing.
No.
Okay.
If she was cute, I'd give cuteness where it's due, but it's not due.
So you're telling me you're okay with that, feminist? You're okay with that?
That's where I'm like, where did they go? They just fell off the face of the earth.
You're telling me that men can have a period?
I know.
What?
This group of people, whoever they are, whatever they are, have lost their damn minds. They just go with what's cool, right? It's kind of like, oh, it's like my mom always said, if your friend told you to jump off a bridge, would you jump off a bridge? And it's like, no, but that's what's happening right now. These people are like, oh yeah, men can have babies, men can have babies, men can have babies. It's like little.
You can Google it now and it'll tell you. Yeah, sure. Of course they can.
It's absolutely ludicrous. Like, we are living in the most bizarre time in history.
But you know what? Also, I wanted to tell you is that none of this stuff is really talked about on the Spanish channel, like the news.
No, and the Spanish channel too. And I say this to my husband all the time. I was like, man, it's like because he's like the only Hispanic at work who won't, like, he doesn't wear a mask, nothing. And I was like, that's because if you turn on the Hispanic channel, it's like death. Mm-hmm. Like everything is so scary because every time I go shopping, like in the Heights, only really the Hispanics are in masks still. And I'm like, what are they watching that I'm not watching?
I ask my sitter every morning. She walks in. I'm like, did you watch the news today? She'll say, yeah. I'm like, hey, so did they talk about any of this? She's like, nope. And so my mom has, I guess, always had, I grew up in the church. So my parents both were very conservative. And we were always, I was the child who battled them, right? And I was like, how dare you think this way, considering that you know, you're an immigrant yourself, and how dare you not think that any of these things are, you know, are. Why do you think these wrong? So I think because my parents were very involved in church, perhaps, and also they were under the Reagan administration where they got amnesty. So I don't know if that's why they became kind of Republican voters. I really don't know. I really want to say that it's mostly because of the religion.
Sure.
Both of them were. And so, we could never talk about politics because I didn't agree with them, right? Because I was not on board with the way they thought. My parents didn't have to come here. Like, they didn't swim here. They didn't walk for 45 days. They didn't do any of that. But they still felt a certain kind of way, right? And they were like, this is not, my parents were never the type that said, only white people will ever progress in life. You're Hispanic. It was like, no, just because they're white doesn't mean, you know, you should be doing more than them. And it was always, you need to do better than that. And you need to have this, and you better go do that. And it was like, it was always that type. It was like, just because they can, my mom never said you can't do something.
Right.
My mom never, the
Same.
word can't never came out of my parents' vocabulary ever. So it comes down to parents, number one. But number two is I realized that the type of information that is being put on TV for the Hispanic community is either when I talked to my mom, she's like, I can't stand watching the Spanish news. I'm like, why? She's like, oh, if you're not experiencing discrimination, you're dying. And if you're, which is really weird. My mom still wears a mask, but my mom feels
no judgment. I hope you know
No,
that. I have no judgment on anyone who wants to wear
no,
one.
no,
but-
trust me. I give her a hard time every time, but she feels that because she's a cancer survivor, she
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
feels like, okay, if I can
understand
kind of
that.
avoid that. My sister too, she's a survivor. She's in remission right now. She lives in Boston. So she'll also, if she were out and about, she'll wear her mask. I get that. I get that.
Yeah,
right.
I do
So
too.
you feel like, okay, I got to try to protect myself, and if that's what makes you feel safe, I'm okay. I really don't care if you want to wear a mask. If that's what makes you feel
Same.
better, then wear it. I choose not to wear it. I don't want to wear it, you know. And I just feel like we need to just kind of remind Hispanics, like, you're none of these things, by the way. You come to the land of opportunity and you take opportunity. You do not wait around for handouts. And I don't think that they realize that. I think that they think that this political party is who gives them the opportunity. And little do they know that it has nothing to do with any party. It has to do with them coming here for a purpose.
Yep.
They came here because where they're from, whoever you are, whatever country you come from, you come here because you want better. And they're trying to make this country this like a third world country.
No, they are.
Because you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When you think of nuclear family too, you usually tend to think of like a big ass Mexican family.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
they don't
Tight-knit
understand,
family.
and they don't
Yeah.
understand that that's kind of what's being pushed. So I told my babysitter about this whole transgender thing. Transgender is very foreign, so to them, a transgender, she thinks it's a drag queen, like a.
Right.
That's what she thinks.
Right.
I'm like, no, listen, it's not the same thing. Like, we went through this whole thing. I'm like, they really want to change themselves. Like, so you mean they're a butch lesbian? No. You still don't get it. Oh, he wants to be a guy. No, he's gay. No, it's like totally different. Like, they're going through sex change. They're giving like hormones to these kids without parents' consent. Some parents don't even know. They come to pick up their child and they're like, who is that child? We don't call them that here. What the fuck are you talking about? This is my child. I gave him their name. They're not allowed to change it. And, you know, I used to just really feel like, oh, I can't stand my mom, right? But my mom's thing at her house was always the day that you can pay your own bills and the day that you can take care of yourself is the day that you have an opinion in my house, right? I very much feel that now. So,
Oh, yeah.
you know, I kind of like, I hated it, that statement when my mom would say that to me. I used to be like, oh, you know, but she's right.
It's true.
And it's like, until you can take care of yourself, until you are financially stable and you're on your own, then I feel you can make your own decisions. But while you're in my home, should my child say anything like that, right? we're going to sit down and talk, and we're going to talk about what makes you feel like that. Why do you feel like that? And we'll monitor it for a hot second, all the way through you go through puberty. Maybe when you go through puberty, you'll tell me something different.
Right.
So then let's monitor it during that time. Now we're talking about you're a whole grown adult. How do you feel now as a grown adult?
Right.
Do you still feel, no, I don't know what I was thinking. Okay, great. Then we know that, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, why are you encouraging your child? Your child's not even old enough to take care of themselves.
Because that's what's cool right now, you know? And like,
I don't
that's the
get it.
thing.
For some reason.
It's like,
For some reason. But I think and this is the question I was asking some other folks that are in our little circle of how we're trying to figure out how to make Houston a more...
Make Houston great again?
Yeah, make Houston great again. Yeah, I made a sign that says that.
So funny.
I swear, I'm like the sign maker. And I said, you know what? We all know in our neighborhoods how to like kind of reach through certain people. And we also know there's a lot of woke people in the Heights. Ugh, it's horrible. But there's a lot of quiet people who have had enough and they're just afraid to speak. And we have to encourage these folks to really speak up. But not just that, the Hispanics and the Black people too. I know for sure that if these moms knew what their kids were reading, they'd raise hell.
facts.
But you know what? And this is something that there's been a couple Hispanic parents that have come. This one guy, he's so sweet. He came, he said his child was crying in the closet because he didn't feel the same because of the mask situation. And never mind the book yet. But he's like, I work like 12, 13 hours a day, and it was hard for me to get here. But I'm here now, and I'm going to voice my concerns. And, I mean, it was just really great. And we were sitting here going, how many people are like this that can't make it to this stupid board meeting at
Majority.
5 o'clock?
Yeah.
5 o'clock.
On a Thursday?
On a Thursday with heavy traffic. I mean, it's right near 610, where the
By the
location
Galleria?
is. It's in the Heights. It's off 18.
Oh, okay.
But, I mean, all these parents who may work multiple jobs.
Of course, what a convenient time.
Convenient time. And then, you know, what really shakes them is when the minority population comes in to speak against what they're all against. And you should see their faces, because we've had a few people come in and they're like, you can see, like, why are you on their side? It's like, because it doesn't matter what color of the skin or what their ethnicity is. It's just that they're concerned parents. And so we said, okay, maybe we need to start knocking on people's doors. Like, because if these people don't have social media, which is probably better for them, but that's how we're trying to get the word out. It's the only way we can. The news isn't doing anything. The Spanish channels aren't doing anything. Nobody's saying anything. I mean, KHOU asked me, they were like, so after I read that book, Flamer, they said, that's really in the schools? I said, yeah, but you're not going to report on it. And they're like, well, we should. I said, you should, but your producers are going to tell you no, because they know that that's not the agenda. They're pushing a different agenda. And the guy was sweet. He's like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, spare me your BS. Like, y'all are nice and all, but every time you put me on the news, you twist my story around, and it pisses me off. And then I have to explain to my job.
That's hilarious.
So I'm like, yeah, I'm on the news again. But it's just we have to come to this kumbaya moment in this city, but all over. It's not just here. It's everywhere. And people need to unite, whether they like a certain political party or not. I don't care. But, you know, at the end of the day, our kids are the future. And if we don't unite, we're just kicking ourselves in the foot for humanity's sake. I mean,
And they're so dumb. These kids now,
oh my gosh,
they're so dumb. And I hate to say this, I'm sorry. No offense to anybody, but they're not even teaching them. I saw this, I don't know if you saw it, this report that said how this generation that went through the pandemic is going to be the lowest IQ children to graduate.
It doesn't
and
surprise
how
me.
Awful is that?
Yeah.
I mean, it saddens me so much that if you were already a struggling student, you're really doomed. And now what does that say for our future?
Well, yeah. I mean, I could see it from my own son. He couldn't read after 3rd grade. Like, it was terrible. And I'm like, yeah, no, we're out. And now he's thriving. I mean, he loves to read. And of course, I'm like, what book are you reading?
Yeah.
But I mean, it's all he loves history. He loves to read about history, which I think is awesome. But, you know, it's sad so many kids have missed so many opportunities because of the pandemic. I mean, again, it was all on purpose. Like,
It's a planned out.
that's my, plan. And this is my tinfoil hat speaking all the time. But I mean, that's just who I am. I don't care.
Well, before we get you out of here, like, where can people follow you, and what are you going to do? Like, what are you trying to do in the short term? Like, go to the meetings? Like, what's the mission for you, your account, your group of friends?
So HTX Kids First on Instagram. I also have the podcast, Probably Problematic.
It's on Spotify and
Apple.
Okay,
Yep.
great.
Hopefully YouTube soon. But basically what we're trying to do now is we really just need a bigger group of people. And that's been the struggle. I'm going to be honest, is trying to get people to come out to these meetings because we just want a big presence, whether people want to speak or not. You know, we see other districts with these big groups of folks who are really rallying and they're meeting together and going through all these book lists together. And we just can't seem to get the momentum in the city. For what reason? I really don't know. I do believe a lot of people are nervous because of their jobs, because of, you know, just walking on eggshells on who they are. I've gone past that moment. I don't care. If I get fired from my job for speaking my mind, you know, God has a plan for me. And I encourage people to really do these things because it's important to know. Not only are we paying these people's salaries,
Yeah.
you know, we
in office and in the education.
Yeah.
Oh, we pay everybody's salary, and we're just
Everybody.
okay with whatever you fucking
Yeah,
say.
they're public
Correct.
servants. They're supposed to be
You
public
know?
servants.
Well, it's like I never cared about voting for anything but the president. Okay. And then I realized, oh, that doesn't matter. It's the cities because
Local elections.
local elections are the most important thing. And even the school board, I mean, it was, y'all, they had some stupid bullshit. I don't know if you knew this. When the school board elections happened in November, they had a power outage all of a sudden that same night that they were counting votes. And then they had to.
That just happened recently.
Yeah. Again.
Again.
And she's resigning, or he, or whatever her name is.
Yeah,
Isabel.
She got booted.
Longoria,
Yeah. They threw her under the bus.
Yeah. So it's really shady. We think that more people actually won the school board election than we're being told, because we know people in the city are fed up with things, and that again they're just not being as vocal as we want. So I encourage people to really just try to find your voice, and your voice might be on social media. I don't know what that voice looks like for you, and I always encourage everybody, just do what you can, whether it's through emailing people or writing letters or being in the forefront of it and reading these books in front of people, showing people what they say, challenging your principals and challenging the teachers and saying, you know what, I heard about this. Don't know if it's in the school, but can you check for me and get back to me? And just keep pressing them because they have an obligation. Your child is with them for 8 hours a day. Don't you think that you should know every single thing that's going on?
You want to know when they're in daycare, every single thing that there's going on. Right now, they have cameras in daycare so that you can monitor it on your
Correct.
phone.
Yeah.
So why don't you want to monitor everything that's happening at your kid's school?
I wish we could have, to some degree, I wish we had, cameras in these classrooms. I know that's, that could be a sense of privacy issues, but at the same time, it's like, it's a public institution. If it's private, I see a difference, even though you're paying for it. Either way, there's got to be some way that we can start monitoring this more as parents and tax-paying citizens. And
Hey, do you listen to Steve Bannon's podcast?
sometimes.
Just curious.
He's good. Yeah, I know. I've got a lot of, my brain is like either fighting children's books or politics.
Yeah, and that's me.
That's we are as
I don't dabble in. I mean, obviously, this is political. For some reason, this is political.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
I mean, it's cultural, it's political, it's everything.
Everything these
But
days
it's just
is,
like
though.
so much happening. This is what I care about. And honestly, I'll be completely honest with you, Jackie. I really try to understand it. I'm really one of those who I try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt always. I really try to always listen and watch with an open mind, whatever it is, right? But I don't feel that I don't feel everybody is the same way. There's closed-minded people, right? And just because sometimes you don't agree with these people, you automatically become this bad person. I mean, I know we can go in circles with this whole situation. My thing is this. The reason I had Valentine, who's a transgender male, on my podcast is because I really tried to understand things, right?
Yeah.
I really want to know, help me understand this transgender thing. Because I know there's transgender people out there who don't agree with a lot of this stuff that's happening.
Yep.
Right? And they feel like, wait a fucking minute. Don't get me involved in this garbage that's happening. This is me. I made this decision on my own as an adult. I realized that this is who I was and this is why I did it. I wish more of those transgender people would come out and talk about the process of it, the psychology of it. I wish that more people, you know what? And I feel like if they came out and spoke more, I feel like more people could understand and there could be a better solution for how a child should transition. Should they show signs of, you know what I'm saying, them wanting to be a male or female. You know what I'm saying? I think that as a kid, you really don't know. My child doesn't know the difference currently right now of Black, Asian, or anything like that, right? She's about to be 4. She still doesn't understand that, right?
And it doesn't matter.
It shouldn't, exactly. She was watching something. We were watching the like Taco Chronicles or something, right? And she heard them all talking Spanish. And she turns around, she goes, oh, they all talk Spanish there. And I'm like, yeah, that's Mexico. And she's like, oh, I want to go there. I was like, oh, you've already been there when you were a baby. She's like, no, I want to go there now. And I said, you do? Why? She goes, because everybody talks Spanish there. We talk the same language. Do you see that she has 0? She's super innocent, has no idea about, she knows what a boy and a girl is. And that is it. She doesn't know anything else, right? And that's my point. Kids are so innocent at that age.
Yeah.
Why are you trying to, because at this point, this is your influence on them. This is now your influence on your thoughts, on your, you know what I'm saying? Ideas, on what you believe in. So now you're putting your beliefs on my child, even though I don't think it's your job to teach that at all. This was never your job.
Yeah.
Your job. I send my child to school to learn how to read and write and learn about anything else but this. So where did that gap happen to where now we allow this dump to happen in our schools and everybody's okay and there's people fighting for this? It's almost like you're a lazy ass parent. It's your job to sit at home and explain to your kids the difference between someone who is gay and at the appropriate age, right? At the appropriate age, because my mom used to always say, in Spanish, is todo a su tiempo. Everything has its time, right? So there's a time when you can wear makeup. There's a time when you're going to get your period. There's a time when you're going to, get boobs, whatever it is, right? Everything has its time. And so I feel that all these things that they're trying to push, it's a parent's job to, whenever should it come up, then they say, listen, so there's some folks who like to date the same sex, and it's your job. So stop being lazy about it. Right. Stop letting the school handle your job.
They're lazy, but then they are the parents who give their kids the iPad for the whole day, and
that's a whole.
Sometimes dad's got to get shit done. All right?
I mean,
I got to edit podcasts. I'm just kidding.
No, I mean, sometimes that happens, but I mean, and I'm guilty of it too at times.
No, for sure. We're joking.
But, sometimes that is the only thing that is raising the child, and then that's what they're finding out. So, yeah, I mean, there's so many things. I would love to see people of all different backgrounds come to these meetings to fight for the kids, not for their ideologies, but for the kids. Because in the end of the day, these kids don't know how to speak up for themselves. They just listen to adults because that's what kids do.
And they are the future.
And they are the future.
They will inherit the earth soon.
We'll be in, a elderly home, senior care center, while these purple-haired freaks are taking care of us.
Yeah. I mean, no, that's...
Well said.
I mean, really.
And then they'll be like, handle it yourself. Just watch a YouTube channel on how to change your diaper.
Damn.
Yeah. I mean, it's coming
true.
to that. Damn.
I mean, it's just crazy. It's like, no, I want them to learn what it's like to just go play in the dirt, get dirty, have fun, enjoy your childhood instead of being told what pronoun you are. I would love to see more of the LGBT community come out to these school board meetings. I know that they did for the Katie board meeting, and I was hoping that maybe we could reach out to them. But there's so many in Houston, so it's like I know for sure not all gay people believe the same thing.
No,
so
like a lot of them, and a lot of them, even though they may not agree with everything in whatever, in I guess conservative views or whatever you want to call it. I mean,
and that's okay though.
And exactly, but they know that. Listen, this is not appropriate, and this is not what you should be teaching children. I know plenty of people in the LGBTQ community who don't feel that way and feel that there's a time and place for this, and they also don't feel that it's a teacher's job. So,
Right. Well, that I want them to come to the meetings.
yeah.
Hopefully they'll hear your call.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
yeah, I encourage you, if you go to our account, HTX Kids First, if you're in this bucket of I'm not sure how to help, message me and I'll tell you the schedule. I mean, it's every month, these meetings. If you're in Houston, if you're in a different area, I mean, it's easy to find.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
we'll
really
link to
easy.
everything. Are you planning on building a website or anything?
No. I'm like,
She's like, I already do too much.
I get myself involved in so many things that I'm like, I've got to cut down somewhere.
Yeah.
But
Well, I want
this
to
is
let
so
you go
big.
because it's already 1:13 and I know you got to get back. But question,
Yes.
how does your husband feel about all this?
So
Does he think you're crazy? Like, calm down, Jackie. Or
Yes.
is he more like, yes?
Well, he's both now. So in the beginning, he was like, what are you doing? You know, he's like, just stay out of this. Because my husband hates politics. He's never voted before, which drives me nuts. I'm like, your family came here from Dominican Republic to live in a free place, like a free country, and you need to vote for that. Like, and he's like, no. I'm like, okay, whatever. So he stays out of it. But at the same time, now he's starting to see, and he listens to my podcast. So he's like, you do make really good points. And I was like, I know. And so I was like, maybe you should come on one day. So he's kind of getting there. I don't we kind of keep it separate because I don't want that to screw up our marriage, you know, but he understands how I think and I understand how he thinks, and it's okay. And like, that's what I'm saying. We're married. We've been together for, 17 years or something. You know, it's okay to disagree with even your closest people, but you can still love each other, guys. Like, it's not a hard concept.
Thank you.
For sure.
That's what happens when you have.
Thank you.
This is a hell of a podcast.
For sure.
Yeah.
We need to have part 2 to
Yeah,
this.
we'll definitely. Yeah.
This definitely went on. So anyway, thank you so much for being on, Jackie. I really appreciate it. I love
Thank
what you're
you.
doing. I'm going to go join you now that I know how to get, because that was my thing. It's like, how do I start? My thing is the budgeting with the school.
Oh, it's bad right now.
So Marissa and I had this whole conversation. She's like, why don't you try to run for treasurer? I was like, I don't know that I want to put myself that much, but I do want to question everything. Is it public?
Yes.
It is. Okay. See, then that's my question. That's what I was wondering.
This will be a very heated meeting on Thursday, and it's really going to be centered around the budget. But then you're going to have the extremists come in, me, and friends who are going to stir the pot even more with other things. So, yeah, the budget's a big one. It's still going to be going on, but they're supposed to be voting on it.
I'll post a link in the Discord for our private group to watch too on Thursday.
Oh, yeah, and they do it live, so you can watch it from home on YouTube, and they have a channel. There's a HISD channel. But,
Great.
yeah, I would love for you to come, and then, bring your friends, bring your friends.
Yeah.
Let's do it next month.
Yeah, let's do it next month. I'm not here this
May,
Thursday. I'm in Nashville, but yeah, I don't really know what's happening, but it's a crazy world we're in, and if you haven't opened kind of your eyes, and I say this at every podcast, if you haven't, just stop watching news media. Just do your own research. Be a free thinker, and you don't have to think. You don't have to be conservative. You don't have to be liberal. You don't have to be anything. If there are things that you don't agree with, that just means you don't agree with those policies. And those are the ones that should matter to you when you go to the voting table, so that you know that this is the shit you're not going to let fly. It doesn't matter where you stand. Let's make that clear. It's about, really, at the end of the day, it's about policies and what you really want for it to, for what you want. How do you want to live? How do you want to live? Are you okay with any of these crazy policies that they're trying to put in place?
And we get the opportunity to vote for those things.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Don't take it for granted, Steven. That's my husband. But yeah, I mean, other countries don't have these luxuries.
None.
And
exactly.
this is why people come here. And this is why we're so amazing But, you know, you've got to think with the brain, your own brain, of what do I want in this country? How do I want to influence change? And yeah, stop watching the news, for goodness sake.
For sure.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah,
This was
thank you
amazing.
guys. You guys
Thank
are awesome.
Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. We'll do part 2 soon.
All right.
So thank you guys for listening. We'll see y'all next week.